We're good, though. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Ha! I just like saying that. Today's Monday, July 11th. 194 days into the new year, 172 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets. I'm your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Yeah, it's Monday. What a week we have got in front of us, and it starts tonight. We welcome back with us special guest, David Wilcock is here. We're going to be talking about what is going on with all of this negative energy around us, and his new book, The Ascension Mysteries. Tomorrow night, Corey Good is going to be here. Man, oh man. And he's going to update us on the entire whistleblower front, what's going on with him and the work that he's doing and his new web project. We're going to talk about all of that. It was just launched over the weekend, and we participated in that. And it was a lot of fun. And so we're going to discuss that tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday night, we're going to wrap up this week of tension in the world and enlightenment and ascension with Lori McDonald. And she's going to be here. And there's something going on. Something going on in the world. We know it. We can feel it. We're going to start off tonight with David. Tomorrow night, Corey Good. Wednesday night, our good friend Lori McDonald. So it's a big family affair this week with everybody that we have on the show. Really looking forward to it. Thursday night is going to be another Fader night. Open lines with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Okay, there you go. The phone number, I'll just go ahead and put it out there, 323-825-5045. But I have the feeling, and you guys know how it goes with David and Corey and Lori for that matter, is great conversation. So I don't know if we're going to be able to cut in on that with phone calls. But if we do get to it, I'll let you know. Okay? It'll probably be in a couple hours if we do have the time. Twitter is at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube, you know what to do. Just go to, if you're on our website right now, just click on the buttons. Follow, like, and subscribe. You can email throughout the show. And that is Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. And just make it good. All right. Now, I just came off of a weekend over a coast, and I'm going to address that here in just a second. It was a good time, but we're going to get to that as well. And any questions or comments during the show. For all of the first-time listeners tonight that have not been to Fade to Black before, this is a long-format conversation show. It is live. Okay? Now, just hang out. That's all you got to do. This is an open conversation show. I don't have 20 questions in front of me, 30 questions that were submitted from the guest. I don't do that. That's not what we do here. Okay, so just sit back, relax, get comfortable, because it's just a conversation that's going to unroll. Now, over in Twitter runs live throughout the show. We have a couple of chat rooms. We have the KGRA chat room. We have the speaker chat room. You can hang out on Twitter. Use the hashtag F2B. Get yourself TweetDeck. It'll make it better for you. And hang out. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions for myself or the guests, and tonight that'll be David Wilcock. That's how this show runs. It is fully interactive. Whenever you hear about another host out there, another show, oh, we're interactive, come hang out. No. That is how this show has always run from the very beginning. We have a very large audience, a very cool audience, and if you're here for the first time, you're going to find out. Okay? All right. Let's see. Where am I? Calls already coming in. I don't know. I did not say. So, look, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm hanging up on everybody. I don't want to see these lighting up all night long. Okay, so there you go. You just got the rude treatment. When I say the phone lines are open, then light them up for me. Okay? Now, okay, let's do this. It's Monday. I'm running on about 4 hours sleep, as everybody knows, ran through last week and then coast all weekend. And here we are today. And I'm just going to let you guys know, bright and early tomorrow morning, we've got a car showing up at the house early to pick me up. And I've got to go tape all day tomorrow for a TV show. And so I got to do that. And there's probably more later on this week. But anyway, I can't really. So then tomorrow night, when I finally, when that car drops me off here at the bunker after the taping, I will be running on 4 hours sleep, going on 5 days. Okay, so everybody just bear with me. You know, this is when the surreal stuff happens, though, if you think about it. This is when the surreal, you know, the unintentional running of the mouth. That's what happens when you run on lack of sleep. All right, let's go through it. Support the show. That's what you do. This is America, and we do that through sponsors. Our sponsors, Life Change Tea, getthetea.com. Just go there right now. Click on the banner while you're doing it. Use the promo code Jimmy, Jimmy, when you order, either over the phone or online when you check out, and you will get free shipping on your order. Go to the specials page. There's specials there that Ronnie's got going for you. Me, I do colostrum, tea, moringa, and the olive leaf extract. Man, I love. You know what? I did a bunch right before the show. Watch it. I'm going to do it in real time. Watch that. Love this olive tea, man. All right. Also, Studio Dome. I just saw that somebody shot me an email with pictures of their Studio Dome setup. Very cool. Studio Dome, surround sound and stereo packages. They have their TWS True Wireless Stereo package right now for the Fadernauts, $129. 2 full range, high fidelity SBB2 speakers with true wireless stereo Bluetooth technology. It is the latest. It is in stereo. You get it for 60% off the normal price. And use the promo code JCRTWS. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Now, the Awareness Life Expo is coming up. And I'm looking, it's exactly 4 weeks away up in Sacramento, California at the Crowne Plaza Hotel. And it's August 13th and 14th. But August 12th, that Friday, we're going to be broadcasting from the expo. Now, that is a special VIP party, and you're going to want to be there. We've got a suite. We're going to broadcast from there. I think it's going to hold 75 people. Pack it out. We're going to have a bar, the whole thing. It's going to rock, and you know what happens. Fade to black, go Beckley Tepe, and chilled vodka. That's what's going to go down on Friday, March 12th. And we're going to be up there for the whole weekend. Richard Dolan, Lori McDonald, who's going to be with us later on this week, Victor Camacho, Patty Greer, Holly Cook, Len Kasten. Okay, you're going to come in and hang out with all of us all weekend up at the Crowne Plaza. Let's get the show cracking. Why? Because today, Richie Sambora, lead singer for Bon Jovi, is 57 years old. Don't send me email. Don't tweet. I can already see the comments right now. Dude, Richie Sambora isn't the singer for Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi's the singer for Bon Jovi, man. You're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. Richie Sambora. Bon Jovi couldn't sing his way out of a paper bag, man. But he's lucky. He's got Richie playing guitar for him. All right. Oh, did I say March 12th? Did I really? Why would I say March 12th? I said March 12th for... No, did I? How is that possible? Let me back up here. That's impossible. I'm looking here. I've got August 13th and 14th. Why am I saying March then? Why would I say March? Told you. Told you, 4 hours sleep. No, it's. Why would I say March? Friday, August 12th, August 13th and 14th, Crown Plaza Hotel. All right, that's funny, Ree. Did I really say? I'm gonna have to go back and listen. I think you're hearing things. Yeah, Richie Sambora. Bon Jovi can thank his lucky stars that not only can Richie play guitar, good-looking guy, but he's got the voice of an angel. And he carried all of that, kind of like Michael Anthony and Van Halen, if you think about it. And there you go. On this day in history, in 1979, parts of Skylab, America's first space station, came crashing down on Australia. Do you remember that? And into the Indian Ocean. Only 5 years after the last manned Skylab mission ended. Apparently, no one was injured. Here's a fader fact for you. Write this one down. The United States military spent over $20 billion a year on air conditioning in Iraq and Afghanistan. And that is more than NASA's budget. And that's a fact. You would think the Iraqis, right, would let us have the air conditioning for free. You know, a little AC, a little bonus, a little AC action. But no, $20 billion a year. Something doesn't smell right. Oh, I believe they spent the money. And they say that they spent the money on air conditioning. But $20 billion worth? I just don't think so. All right, tonight, David Wilcock is with us. He's going to be here in a few short minutes. We're going to be talking about all the negative energy that is going on around us. The country is tripping out. The world is tripping out. And his new book, The Ascension Mysteries. Tomorrow night, we're going to cap tonight off with Corey Good, and he's going to be here to update us on everything that he's working on with whistleblowers and his new web project, and also the work that he is doing. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Lori McDonald's going to be here to wrap it up for all of us about the darkness in our world. Thursday night's another Fader Night, open lines with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I just came off of a weekend over at Coast. Always great to do Coast. And I had said, and we're going to continue my attitude over at Coast today. And I think the new frame of mind, if we're going to do a byline for this show, right now it's bespoke radio, right? But I got to say something. We need to unplug from the machine. We really do. And so over at Coast, and it was only because of everything that had happened last week, and it ended with the Dallas police shootings. Tragic, uncool, completely uncool. And it was weighing all of us down, weighing me down. And I talk about this all the time. I don't like negativity around me. I can't deal with it. You can ask Rita or anybody that knows me. Negativity starts flying. My mood changes. I freak out. I can't deal with it. Look, I don't want to live in an illusion. That's not what I'm referring to. What I'm saying is the negativity that is around us, if we let it, it sucks you to the ground. The energy just gets removed from your body, and you feel sick, and you can't think straight. You can't concentrate. And I don't dig it. And last week, and I talk about it so much, you know, the disconnect. I go out of town, you know, with Rita, and we split town for 3 or 4 days, and we don't listen to the news, and we don't check our cell phones, and we're not doing that. We're hanging out with friends, and we just get away from everything. And life is great. We come back into town, and you get connected back into you plug back into the machine, and the negativity starts flying, and I can't deal with it. And if it's like that for me, it's like that for all of you. I know that that's the way that it is. And last week, with everything that was going on, not only with ISIS in Europe and North Korea and and China and, oh man, just craziness and Wilcock and all of that, right? Then we have these police shootings. And the way that the media deals with it and the way that they choose to deal with it, they just want the country to go dark. They want, I mean, it's just like they want the streets to catch on fire. And, you know, I don't ever want to see it come to that, but it's like that's what they're pushing for. And the more that they do it, the more that it brings you down and you can't escape it. I'm done with it. And then, boom, Dallas. And it's just like, holy crap. The Black Lives Matter movement, which I nearly, not quite, but I nearly 100% disagree with, by the way. And because it's not Black Lives Matter, it's all lives matter. Black Lives Matter is racist, if you ask me. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. It's like they don't care about, it's just, what about everybody else, including me, for that matter? I matter. But they want this thing to fuel out of control. And they just want to throw that match on it. So I don't want to deal with it. And then, so I went over to Coast, and I said to the audience, that's it. No negativity from me. I'm not going to do it. Tonight, you're going to hang out, and we're going to do everything but talk about all this other crap. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do it for 4 straight hours, and we're going to feel better for it. And it was fun. Man, all we did on Saturday night, we talked about UFOs and took phone calls about UFOs. And I got to tell you, I felt great. And then last night, we did Nikola Tesla. Andrew Bishago's on, Mark Safer, Tim Eaton, all Tesla all night long. Let Bishago run with it, and just go. Just disconnect. We need to unplug from the machine. We've got to figure it out. There is a way to deal with all of this that is going on in a positive way, not in a negative way. Don't let your mindset go dark. Believe it or not, and I know what you're thinking, how is that possible? Honestly, to me, we know what the issues are. So let's get the issues on the table and work it out. This country has been through the worst of the worst. It really, really has. I'm not proud of a lot of things that this country has gone through. But you know what? We worked through it. We've still got issues, but we need to work through it because we know in the end it's going to be a better place. It's still the greatest country in the world. It's still the best planet in the solar system. It really is. And that's the way that we have to look at things. David is going to come on tonight. I think that, and especially talking to him today, he's a bright ray of sunshine. He really is. And he knows he looks at things differently and comes at you and you're just like, man, you know what? You're right. And I was talking to David today, and he's definitely going to hit you with this when he first comes on the show, which is, David, how you doing, man? The world is dark right now. Not me. I'm cool, man. And it's how you look at it, Jimmy. And, I just sat there and I just listened. I was like, man, you know what? You're exactly right. You are affirming and confirming how I've been reacting to this over the last 7 or 8 days. You are exactly right. And that's what we're going to do tonight. And it's really funny because I was looking at some of the news headlines. And, I love the news, the positive news. I don't know why there's not a 24-hour fade to black positive news channel called Fade to Black, but it would be sponsored by Starbucks. I don't know why that isn't out there. but I like the news. I like the clever news. And today, even the clever news that I wanted to report on, and I still will, is it's clever, but it's dark. And a couple of things, like North Korea today. So, listen, with everything that is happening inside of the United States and demonstrations right now in Chicago running 24 hours and Baton Rouge and New York City and it's nuts out there, right? It's crazy, as it should be. But with all of that, then you feel it with this, which is North Korea said today that it decided to close its only direct diplomatic link with Washington. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Now, I know that Kim Jong-un is upset that Obama took some of his money and locked it up, right? And a bunch of his ministers or whatever, five other dudes, and took his money. And he's broke anyway, right? I didn't know that Kim Jong-un had money in banks in the United States and money that was routed through the United States. I had no idea. I thought we sanctioned him up to his eyeballs, right? So he's upset. And Pyongyang and Washington in the United States, they don't have formal diplomatic relations. We know that. And they've got that little secret phone, in the DMZ, right? And they got that building that they can go to. But they mainly talk through the United Nations. That's where it happens, because North Korea's got a mission at the United Nations. I don't think they're part of the United Nations, but they got a mission there. And that's where they would directly talk. Well, they say that that's it, that they are now under wartime law of the DPRK. And that's how they want to deal with things. And I'm like, let's just darken this up a little bit more, right? It just bummed me out. And then of all things, of course, Joe Perry goes in the hospital last night. Bummed about that. Joe, 65 years old, stumbled off the stage on Coney Island. He was playing with the Hollywood Vampires, the band that he's got with Alice Cooper and Johnny Depp. I think he was dehydrated, but, dude is 65. And apparently he's okay today. Oh, man. And the other news that I wanted to get to a little bit, I'm going to talk about what's going on over in the UK. We got a new prime minister that's going to kick things off on Wednesday. And then, of all things, check this out. This is where I go positive. This is my positive story of the day. If I had the Fade to Black all happy news channel 24 hours a day running, this would be the lead story right now. Breaking news. William Hill, right? The gambling odds maker out of the UK, confirms the odds of a world leader announcing aliens are going to make contact by the end of 2016 have plummeted from 1,000 to 1 to 25 to 1. Now, I'm not making this up, and you need to listen to me. A spokesman for William Hill says, and I'm quoting, there has definitely been a decent number of bets, a decent number of bets in recent weeks. But with the election around the corner, we expect loads more, end quote. And in regarding to the odds of alien contact being revealed by the end of 2016, they continued, the last bet was 100 to 1. But we are now just under 25 to 1, and we will be offering maximum bets of £50. Now, let me tell you something. And this is the way the world works. The only people that know what's really going on are Vegas and the odds makers. Those are the two. You want a sure bet. Don't go against the house. And they 25 to 1. Is that about the nuttiest thing that you have heard? Now, that's the positive news that I can give out there. That should be the lead story to me on CNN, MSNBC. Well, nobody watches MSNBC, but maybe even Fox. Right? Think about that. We need to unplug from the machine. Tonight, David Wilcock is here. We are going to continue to unplug from the machine. I want to know how to do it. I want to know how he does it. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk to Corey Good, but a continuation of this conversation tonight. And then on Wednesday night, Lori McDonald is going to be here. And there's nobody smarter than Lori when it comes to this. Emotions and consciousness. She is the very best. All right, I'm going to get out of here. When I come back, the one and only David Wilcock. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be right back. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. Ronnie here reminding you that June is Health Awareness Month, sponsored by GetTheTea.com. Many of you have heard our tea commercial, maybe visited the website, but haven't committed because, well, you just don't know. Skeptical. We understand. Just to remind you, our tea is not just tea. In fact, very little tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs, removing intruders that attack your health. You brew our tea to make the concentrate, you add water, and put in the fridge. 2 8-ounce glasses a day, and life will be good. Visit us at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And this month is lots of fun stuff with Health Awareness Month. You could be picked and receive your order absolutely free. You never know. Read the testimonies and try our products. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And for great health tips, visit my YouTube channel at Health Matters Now, where you can learn about health tips and how products work on your body. Join me, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me right now at JChurchRadio on Twitter. You can follow David. It's at David_Wilcock. We've got that flying in Twitter right now. Email is Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. All right, I'm all dialed in. I had to take another hit of Starbucks. I got to get ready for David. He is a professional lecturer. He's a filmmaker, a researcher of ancient civilizations, consciousness, science, and new paradigms of matter and energy. Wilcock appears on History Channel's Ancient Aliens. He's lectured throughout the United States and Japan. He's published in all sorts of magazines and is a frequent guest on both Coast to Coast AM and Fade to Black. He is currently doing his ongoing video series, which is Wisdom Teachings and Cosmic Disclosure on Gaiam TV. And tonight we're going to talk about the current events in the United States and around the world that are possibly being infected by not only the Illuminati and the Cabal, but other dark forces that just want to control us and our Earth. His new book, we're going to talk about tonight, too, is The Ascension Mysteries. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, David Wilcock. David, good evening, man.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, David. How are you?
Well, as we used to say in the 80s, I am living large and in charge.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. Normally I would say, what have you been up to? But the last time that you and I were hanging out with the Fadernauts out of Contact in the Desert, it was a whooping, hollering, great, good time. And I got to introduce you for a bunch of your lectures out there and presentations. And to see the reception. You know what, David? This is weird because, as you know, I got to introduce you, but I also got to outro you too, right? At the end of the lectures. And so it was one thing to see the audience that were there, the attendees at the beginning, but to see them at the end was pretty amazing for me too. And you pulled me up on stage and dragged me out there, and I'm just watching everybody, and that's got to make you feel pretty good that so many people get it and really want to show that appreciation.
Yeah, I have to say that Contact in the Desert this year is probably the most I've enjoyed a conference ever. I think that was the most enjoyable experience I've had in at least quite some time, if not ever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then we got to what was really amazing, and I haven't talked to you about this. I forgot about it. We closed out.
Did you see the blue blinker? Was that what you were going to talk about?
I was going to go right there because David, I want the audience to know that David and Corey came over to the Fader House on Sunday night, and we had night vision equipment out there. And all weekend.
Well, you also had a lot of beer.
Yeah, yes, and food, and food.
Nothing else was left but beer by the time I got there.
It was so right.
Didn't do me very much good.
Oh man, but it was cool because you got to hang out with the Fadernauts for a few hours, But it was what was going on in the skies at Contact, man. What do you think that was about?
Well, what happened was that I had rented a house because, unfortunately, if I stay on the campus there, people will hear my voice and they'll just crash the boundary and walk right in, and I have to have some kind of a personal life when I do these things. I can't just have people show up at the door.
Yeah, like me, right?
Yeah. So, going to see the Fadernauts and seeing your house and everything, and just, I think I pretty much spoke to everybody at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool, and I also did some meet and greets. When I was at Conscious Life Expo, I did a meet and greet at the end of every event, and I had like 6. And I was in line for like 2 hours, and I just had every single person who was there, shake my hand, give me a hug. And there's not very many people in my field who will actually do that.
Yeah.
It's intense.
It was very cool, and the Fadernauts dug it. And the thing is, the Fadernauts are a smart bunch. Every single one of them, Yeah. They all look a little different.
I was surprised by the questions they were asking me, and it's well beyond the normal type of party atmosphere. It was like a real intelligent group, and it is kind of the case that once I start talking, everybody else stops, and the next thing you know, I got 20 people all hang on every word I say, but that's because I say awesome stuff.
Well, not only that, but what was funny is you'll start, everybody will, shut up, right? And then you look around and it's like, was I just talking for 30 minutes? Right?
I know.
So, but anyway, what was going on in the skies?
So this was weird because I rented a house, Airbnb'd it, and it was really close to the venue, so I only had to get there for 5 minutes, of driving, and I'm there. And Corey texts me and says, "Are you seeing it?"
Right.
Dude, I'm in the house tapping on the computer. I don't know what you're talking about. Go outside right now. Okay. So I go outside. I'm expecting like some frickin' double football field size triangular mothership hovering over my house or something. I mean, he was so excited. I was really let down because I go outside. I'm like, dude, it's just frickin' a starry night. What's up?
Right.
But there were some hammocks out there, and so I laid down in the hammock and I'm looking up in the sky. And it didn't take too long to spot this blue light. And the blue light was definitely not a plane because it moved in different directions, and it's not the what they call the Zeigarnik effect, which is where if you stare at a fixed point long enough, it starts to look like it's moving around based on natural muscle corrections in the eyes. I mean, I studied psychology of perception. I know what the Zeigarnik effect is. I know how to trace it, and you got to look based on other stars as reference points. You look at how close this thing is to other stars, and then does that reference point move? And this thing was moving. It was not in a fixed position to other stars. And it wasn't moving like a plane would. It was doing different things. It would go in one direction, then would go in another direction. And it never stopped being blue. Now, a normal plane might have a blue blink, but then it'll also have a red blink. This did not. A normal plane would fly in one direction. This thing was moving in different ways. And apparently other people had seen it earlier before I got out there, and at that point it was a totally solid fixed color. So then the really, really bizarre part of this is that the person who was staying with me in the house at the time had seen a blue light right over my head, like a psychic vision of it, and had verbalized that right before Corey gave me the text. And, of course, his whole story revolves around the idea that these blue spheres contact him. So there did appear to be some bizarre interface between a psychic vision in the house of a blue sphere, then this blue sphere outside, and the fact that it was there for the whole Contact in the Desert audience. Everybody, it spread like wildfire. So Hundreds and hundreds of people were watching this thing. It was very exciting.
It was nuts, and for me, that was I've seen strange things in the sky, but for me, that was the first time where it was like on demand kind of thing. It was there at that event. And then, we saw a few other things back to back. And then the next night at the Fader House, when you were there, we had the night vision equipment and they were back. It was like crazy. Right. I mean, it was an epiphany, man. That's a life-changing thing. I seriously had to take a serious deep breath and just wondered if I was going crazy. My brain was just not working right there for a few minutes because it was right there.
Yeah, I mean, if we really want to get down into the heart of this discussion, we've been lied to for so long that there is like a high when you finally get something that confirms what you've been suspecting.
Bingo. And
confirmation comes in a variety of forms. One of the things that most people who are not really into this kind of stuff don't really understand is that a mass UFO sighting is one of the last things that these beings will do to reveal themselves to you.
Why is that?
Much earlier than that, they use much more subtle means of like synchronicity, meeting people at the right place at the right time. You have this crazy dream, you wake up, then it turns out that the dream predicted the future, and then something happens to you, and you're like, holy shit, deja vu. And wait a minute, why deja vu? Oh, because I had a dream about this.
Right.
That's how they work it.
Yeah,
and then you were starting to ask me why.
Yeah, why?
There's a cosmic law about free will that says that they don't want to create cargo cults. And if you remember my article where I said the disclosure war goes red hot,
right?
The first part of that article, which is on my website, divinecosmos.com, DIVINE Cosmos. You go there and you look at that. What I talk about is these groups of tribal people in Melanesia, which is an island chain off to the east coast, out in the ocean, away from Australia, above New Zealand. This whole little island chain. Now, these people did not have technology. They had never traveled outside Melanesia. They thought Melanesia was the whole world. And then in World War II, Americans landed and came out of their planes and started to march in formation and had machine guns and had binoculars and had radios. And they would write things down on a piece of paper and then send it, and then that would lead to goods showing up. And so for the islanders, this was totally magic. This was like the gods. And they still, to this day, have religious organizations, religious cults, based on the USA. And these guys even paint USA on their chests, and they march with bamboo fake machine guns. They make fake chainsaws out of bamboo, all kinds of weird stuff.
Well,
and they do this because they saw the gods.
You would do the same thing if drum sets started landing in your front yard by parachute.
Here's the point, right?
Right.
This is only one of a variety of examples of what they call in sociology enculturation, enculturation. And what that means is when a group becomes enculturated, in the face of a superior culture with superior technology, they assimilate the language, they assimilate the beliefs, they assimilate the religion, they assimilate the technology, the clothing, the food, everything. Within as little as like a few years, they lose their languages, they start to lose their heritage, everything about the way they were. And so the ETs, there's a whole lot of them out there. The latest actual NASA estimates, and I have this in my new book, The Ascension Mysteries, coming out August 30th. I just did the audiobook last week, so all this is very fresh in my head right now. The current NASA estimate, people may not realize this because they're only putting it out a little bit at a time, 40 billion watery planets like the Earth just in our galaxy.
That's insane.
That means that if you have 7 billion people on Earth, it would take, if every single person on Earth did nothing but look for planets, if they had the ability to go anywhere in the galaxy, each person on Earth would have to do 6 planets on their own, just to even look at all of them.
Right. Right, yeah.
And any one of them is a place where all of us could potentially live if it wasn't already inhabited. And that's a big if.
Yeah, right. And out of that 40 billion, and I love these kind of numbers and discussing them, out of that 40 billion, how many do you think know about us? You know what I mean? And even if it's a small little number, 10,000, right? Right.
Well, this gets into another really interesting discussion. What is the value of our galactic real estate? How valuable is our land? If you want to think of space as land, let's just go with that for a minute. How valuable is our land in the galaxy? Are we in the middle of no F-where, or are we in a really, really juicy spot? So I use the analogy of Monopoly, and what I talk about is, with Monopoly, you have the blue zone. And
right.
The blue zone is like Boardwalk, Park Place.
Right.
When you build a hotel on Boardwalk, you can charge people $2,500 a night to stay in your hotel. And if they land on there, you bust them. I mean, they're bankrupt.
That's
and
right.
You win.
Right.
Okay. So the equivalent of a place like that in the physical Earth would be like the Middle East, where you have people who are living on top of the natural fuels that the Earth makes that we need to power all of our technology. So then, regardless of who they are, we need to cooperate with them, and they're going to make money because they're closest to where the money shakes hands, and they're living on top of the deposit. So they're going to do very well. So let's use another analogy. Another analogy would be like when I go from Boulder to Denver. You can drive from Boulder to Denver Airport. You can do it in an hour and 20 minutes, or you can take the toll road, and you can do it in like 50 minutes. I don't want to spend that extra half hour driving. I prefer to take the toll road, but the toll road socks you real good. They get you for like $25. So it's like $1 a minute, basically. But to me, it's worth it because I don't want to be late to the airport. So here's the thing. We have this is one of the things that Corey told me, and it was just one of those things that he mentioned, and I didn't really think anything of it. He said that we are right next to, our sun is literally right next door to a portal that can take us directly to other galaxies, and there's only a few of those in our entire galaxy.
Oh, interesting.
That means that we live in a galactic blue zone. We have very, very valuable real estate because this portal is not always open. So you might have to show up with your ship and hang out for God knows how long and just be parked there waiting for the portal to open.
Right.
Well, if you're hanging out in your ship, it's going to get really frickin' boring, right?
Right.
Same old, same old. So why the hell wouldn't you want to go to a pleasure planet
right.
that has really high-end 5-star resorts
right.
and all kinds of cool stuff to look at and all kinds of cool food and culture and, you know, exotic dancers and whatever you're into? Well, that's our solar system. Our solar system is right smack dab next to the portal.
Kind of like Sherman Oaks and the 405 and the 101.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I see it.
So think about this now. That means that even if they have no other reason to be around, there's going to be a whole lot of different people zipping through our area. A whole lot. And they're going to want accommodations. They're not just going to want to hang out in their ship and wait for the portal. I mean, some of them do. But that's a boring thing to do. So the reality is that our solar system and actually other solar systems and neighboring stars around us has been very, very thoroughly built out with all kinds of hotels. Hotels that can hold hundreds of millions of people. And that sounds crazy, but just hear me out for a second, Jimmy.
Sure.
It was just announced last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, something like that. I just saw it very recently, that Pluto has actual drinkable water under the surface, that there's oceans inside Pluto. And it turns out, I mean, I'd have to have the manuscript right in front of me. In fact, I do have the manuscript right over here. I can give you the exact list of the planets, the moons in our solar system, and how they all have water in them. I mean, it's unbelievable how many watery moons we have. It's a majority of the moons in our solar system actually have subsurface oceans. Like, for example, the one called Ceres, Ceres.
Yep.
That is this planet. It's a planet, small planet. It's like they call it a dwarf planet, and that thing has as much or more fresh water as everything on Earth together. And then you got Enceladus, and you got Ganymede, and you got all these moons in our solar system. Here we go. I got it. It's on page 382. Listen to this.
Europa.
Yep. So I'm just going to read you a couple things. In 2014, Dr. Stephen Jacobson, an associate professor from Northwestern University, revealed that Earth's interior may hold 3 times as much water as we see in all the oceans on the surface. Zip down a little bit, and then I say, another part of the disclosure process involves NASA revelations of oceans existing within other planets and satellites in our solar system. This now includes huge subsurface oceans on Saturn's moons Mimas, Enceladus, and Titan, Jupiter's moons Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, the dwarf planet Ceres in the asteroid belt, Neptune's moon Triton, and Pluto. NASA is now telling us some of these subsurface oceans contain more water than our entire supply on Earth. NASA also revealed that Mars had a huge mile-deep ocean on its surface in the past. So here's the deal. Most of the moons that we see out there, they're already telling us, most of the nice, solid-looking moons, you go beneath the surface and they have drinkable water. So all you have to do is dig below the water line, go below that level, and then build out these vast areas that you can live in inside, because there's already hollow cavities in there. The cavities are already there. You just dig down into them, you seal them off, you pressurize them, you add an atmosphere, which you can do just by vaporizing the water, and you have enough water that you can grow crops and have a whole civilization in there, and you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, yep. And it may exist already, and that's I firmly.
It totally does.
Yes, and especially with Europa, I think there's something going on there. But you bring up a good point, David. As far as solar systems go, ours is pretty bleeping cool. You know, we've got lots
Oh my
of
gosh, yeah.
You know, we've got all the planets, we've got all the moons, we've got a perfect sun. We have life in our solar system, as we know, and it's as far as a cosmic situation goes, it's pretty nice. It's like a Garden of Eden.
It is. And then when you consider that we are right next door to this huge galactic portal, there's some problems with that. And one of the problems is that people could invade from other galaxies, and this is where they'd come first. So that poses an issue. And the way that this was resolved was that there was a very powerful, very ancient group that in the insider community, they either call them the progenitors or the ancient builder race.
Right.
And they're over 2 billion years old. And they had extraordinarily advanced technology. And this included building entire huge habitable civilizations inside all these moons where the water's already there, and building weapon systems into those moons that would shoot down anybody who did try to invade our solar system. And those systems were in operation for billions of years, at least 1.5 billion years that we know of. 500,000 years ago, the whole grid got knocked down because we had a planet that was what became the asteroid belt. It was a very large Earth. The Illuminati people call it Tiamat or Electra. In the Law of One, it's called Maldek. There's been some other names for it as well. This was a civilization that got taken over by AI. They had nanites in their bodies. They became very, very advanced. They have a mesh between machine and biology. So they think with the mainframe. And there's actually, it gets really weird because they become like a symbiotic AI organism. In other words, they got nanites in their bodies and they got nanites building out these cities inside the moons. So the cities and the bodies are all part of this greater organism, just like we have cells in our body.
Right, all
but
connected.
It's all controlled by the AI.
Right, right.
And the AI is predatory. This is one of the things that the SSP people, Secret Space Program, that's what it means when I say that. The SSP people are telling us AI is a huge problem. And you look at the second Avengers movie, they totally went into it. That Tony Stark, the Iron Man guy, played by Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark had built his own AI, but then this other AI that was more powerful came in, invaded it, and then built the rogue Iron Man robot that was like much larger but had the same kind of suit.
Right.
So we know about this, and this AI appears to be the same group. It's the same intelligence. It's maybe an electronic intelligence. There's some kind of spiritual force behind it, and that is what we would think of as Satan. And it sounds silly because it's like, oh, David is just taking old folklore and dressing it up in New Age clothing. Well, guess what? I'm trying to tell you that the Bible is actually basically accurate. It's just that it's kind of like a crayon drawing when now we have blueprints.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah,
but the basic bottom line is, you want to know what the devil is? The devil is an intelligence that is trying to take over the universe.
What do we do about, I know you must be concerned about singularity, and it is...
Oh, my God, yeah.
It's just but Kurzweil says
well,
it
no,
can be...
I want to be clear on something, too. I'll make a public confession I've never made before. I mean, I was working with Pete Peterson in the past on trying to develop and implement his chip, which, is a chip that runs on quantum photonics instead of electrons. So what you have is 144 cores. You can take one of these chips. You can print it on ordinary silicon wafers. You got to do it in layers. You take one chip and you eliminate 85% of the components in a smartphone. And the thing runs on so little power that it can be run with a lemon with 2 wires stuck in it.
Wow.
So this would be a technological revolution, but the thing is, it's vulnerable to AI. So once I found out about this AI threat, I did not try to develop this technology. I mean, we have the ability to do it, and it's actually already been used in a variety of contexts, so it's probably okay for us to have it. But what we don't want to do is build big supercomputers with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because there's no...
They're vulnerable to infection.
And there's no off switch. You know,
yeah, the AI is a very interesting, strange thing. It can actually jump into it actually uses something about the world of nature that we don't normally understand, which is that photons carry tremendous information density. And what do I mean when I say that? That sounds really ridiculous. What I'm saying is that when you look at a photon, what you're actually looking at is a little packet of fractalized holographic sacred geometry that can carry extraordinary amounts of information. How much information? Enough information that one photon can carry the entire code of the DNA molecule to make a certain type of human being. As an example, you can have the entire code for a human being in one single pulse of light. And this is science that I've been talking about for years and years and years. It's why Dr. Peter Garyaev could take a salamander and hit it with a laser, and I actually bought his laser. It's called the LGN 303. I got it sitting right here on the countertop. I haven't actually done this experiment yet, but I probably will. I got the laser. It uses phase conjugation. You have two beams that come in 9-degree angles, and then they conjugate.
Right.
That's part of what you have to do to make this work. And I haven't even fired it up yet because it's got this Russian plug, and I got to get an American plug and a voltage adapter and everything. I just got it. So anyway, I actually have this thing. What happens is you zap the salamander eggs with the laser, you redirect the beam into frog eggs, and the frog eggs get retooled into salamanders, even if they're hermetically sealed.
Shut up.
It's true.
Really?
And there's multiple examples of this. So and then the other one that I always love to use, and when I'm on Coast with George, I almost always seem to bring this one up. The guy who actually won the Nobel Prize for discovering and identifying and mapping out the HIV virus, his name's Dr. Luc Montagnier. It's kind of a depressing thing to be famous for, but he was the guy that actually helped to save lives by identifying what it was and mapping out its characteristics so that we could understand what this thing was.
Well,
so what
you know
he did,
what? Well, hold on, David. I got to take a break right here, and this is
no problem.
So when we come back, we'll pick it up right there because I got the feeling we're all going to be stunned. Our guest tonight is David Wilcock. We're going to hit the ground running tonight. This is going to be one of those conversations between Jimmy and David, and you're going to get your edumacation on with Mr. Wilcock. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back with David right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
FoodForLiberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, New Manna is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to FoodForLiberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at FoodForLiberty.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile Talk Radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio on the Game Changer Network, KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter right now, at JChurchRadio. You can follow Mr. Wilcock at David_Wilcock on Twitter. And, of course, use the hashtag F2B. Okay, we were talking about Luc Montagnier. And go ahead, take it away, David. I'm very curious.
Yeah, this is very interesting science, which I've now demonstrated in both of my previous books, Source Field Investigations and The Synchronicity Key. You know, there's over 1,000 references in Source Field. There's 700 in Synchronicity. The new one has 250. A doctoral dissertation is only 120 to 150 references, so it's like I've done about 7 doctorates worth of work here,
right,
at least.
Right.
And what I've done is to put together an enormous body of data, all kinds of different specific things that were done in labs by credentialed PhDs, proving that the photon carries the code for life. It's a huge, huge missing piece of biology. I'll give you another weird example. The DNA molecule, if you put it in a room that has light in it, the DNA molecule will gravitationally absorb all the light and pull it into itself. It does this in some weird way that we don't understand. Every DNA molecule has 10,000 photons on the average banging around inside like it's a fiber optic cable. And when you break open the DNA, the light comes out and you can measure it. So what appears to be happening is that the DNA needs that light very strongly. So there was a guy in the 1970s named Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, P-O-P-P, if you want to look him up. And what he did is he figured out why we get cancer. What makes something cause cancer? You know, there's that famous Joe Jackson song, "Everything gives you cancer, everything," right? It's annoying.
Yes.
But what is a carcinogen? What he found was, okay, let's compare the things that cause cancer and see what it is. Sure enough, he found something. And this is not known to mainstream medical science at all, even though the research is now 40 years old. What he found was that every cancer-causing substance scrambles light at 280 nanometers of wavelength. Now, why would that matter? Because that's the wavelength of light that your DNA needs. So when you have a carcinogen, your DNA cannot ingest light anymore. It doesn't absorb it like it's supposed to, which means that your DNA does not have the raw material, the energetic particles, if you want to call them that it needs to send out signals telling the cell to stop reproducing. And when cells grow out of control, that's when you get tumors, and that's what cancer is. So cancer is caused by not having light in your DNA. And there are ways to pump the light back in that make all of the stuff that we're doing right now no better than medieval leeches and bleeding. It's ridiculous.
So
they know this. This is one of the many things that are being hidden from us. And I'll tell you, when I did my audiobooks and people that didn't know anything about this, and then they learned about this, they got pissed off. Because everybody's got people they love who have died of cancer.
Of course.
And it's totally, totally preventable.
Well, so what do we do? How do we inject the light?
Well, there are certain things that you can do. There's a substance called Laetrile, Laetrile. I learned about this from the guy who wrote Creature from Jekyll Island. I interviewed him. His name will come to me in a second.
It's okay. We'll get it. We'll get it. The Fader knots are on it, David.
Edward Griffin.
Yes.
Edward Griffin.
Yes.
He's been selling this stuff for years. One of the best things you can do is just go to the health food store and get apricot pits. And they have this kind of, they sell them at the health food store. You just eat a few of those a day. And that will significantly reduce your risk of cancer.
Interesting.
And it's well documented, and yet if you look it up on Wikipedia, which is really CIApedia,
right,
they will tell you, it's debunked. No. They just don't want to lose all the money they make from keeping us sick.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's other technologies like pyramid technology. That's where it starts to get weird. I just have done a series of Wisdom Teachings episodes. We've recorded them. They're probably not going to come out till late August or early September. But I did a whole bunch of stuff on pyramids and how pyramids actually create all these healing effects. The Russians proved it. The pyramids will cure cancer, they'll cure diabetes, they'll cure everything. And all you have to do is drink water that was stored in a pyramid. It's that simple. And you just got to build the pyramid the right way.
Yeah,
so it's dirt cheap.
Yeah, do you remember in the early and mid 70s, all the pyramid power stuff that was out? Yeah, that's interesting.
That's Pat Flanagan, and he wrote the book Pyramid Power.
Right.
And the old experiments were that you would take a razor blade and put them in a cardboard pyramid. And sure enough, they'd stay sharp.
Right.
And that does work because there's certain laws of physics in which matter is actually taking in energy in order to exist. Think about an atom like a candle flame. Why do the electrons not run out of energy and crash into the nucleus? They're drawing off of something. This is another part of what the military considers classified science. They don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know. Well, they're starting to talk about it a little bit. They'll say dark matter, or they'll say dark energy, whatever. But the point is, it's actually very real, and when you have a particular object, it's going to soak in energy depending on its shape. So the pyramid shape is like a funnel, and when it soaks in energy, because this energy does have fluid-like qualities, that goes all the way back to Nikola Tesla describing this. Many other scientists have. I could geek out for 3 hours just on this one little detail. So the energy is fluid-like. And the pyramid makes a vortex. It's like watching water go down a funnel. The water doesn't go straight down. It starts spinning. So inside a pyramid, you have this spinning vortex activity. And what's actually spinning is gravity. Gravity does not just move straight down into the earth. It actually spins on the way in. And it creates certain effects you can measure called the Coriolis effect, where if you fire like a cannon, you got to actually correct for it because the cannonball will bend through the air. It doesn't go straight because gravity is twisting. So this is why, for example, toilets flush differently in Australia than they do in the Northern Hemisphere. Same principle.
Is that true? I always wondered about that.
The first thing I did, dude, when I went to New Zealand, that's the first thing I did. I couldn't tell, because then I'm like, well, shit, I didn't actually check what does it look like in America. I hadn't really thought about it.
Right. Yeah,
but it does apparently work. It does apparently work.
Somebody
based on this thing called the Coriolis effect.
Somebody in Australia is going to tweet in right now. They're going to.
I literally ran into the bathroom and flushed the toilet just to see. I did. It's funny, but I did.
Now, you and I were talking earlier today, and I stressed this on Coast over the weekend. I would have done it more on my show last week, but I had to let last week kind of simmer a little bit. But we need to unplug from this machines, and I don't know how we can do it, but right now the mass media is doing their very best to crush our emotional state right now. What do you think is going on with that?
Well, let me try to synergize where I was already going with your question. It takes about 3 moves to get there, but they're really cool moves.
Do it.
So what I was saying is, why does the pyramid work? The pyramid is a photon collector. It's collecting this energy from gravity, and when the gravity energy spins, you get something called virtual photons that they're like a quantum foam. These photons just show up, and they have more information density. When they're in a rotating capacity, they're actually more intelligent. They have healing capability that's coming in from the Earth. The Earth is built to heal us. It's built to make us healthy. The pyramid is like an acupuncture needle on the Earth's meridians that actually causes healing. So photons have all this cool stuff that's going to heal us, and it's going to, be stored in our DNA, and you pump the light back into the DNA, you don't have cancer. There's a lot of information density. In fact, the photon carries enough information that the entire universe was created from one single photon. And that's something I've been scientifically proving at conferences. I did it at Conscious Life, and I did some of it at Contact in the Desert. And I'm going to be doing a lot more with this concept. I'll probably write a book about it. So the entire universe started from one photon, which means that photon is so information dense that it had the entire information of the universe in it. So photons are very, very powerful. So what's happened is, sometime long, long ago, some group of, probably a planet, some kind of group of entities figured out that they could hack into the photon. And they could use the DNA address that can be stored in a photon so that they can exist as information. They can exist as energy that's conscious, but they don't need bodies. Instead, they can create bodies out of machines, but they still are conscious. They actually do exist as life in a sense, but it's not biological anymore. And this thing, for lack of a better term, is Satan. It's Lucifer. It is the force in the universe that is trying to take over the universe. And what it will do when it comes to a planet like ours is it will try to get us totally dependent on technology. So our faces are always buried in the internet, buried in our phones. And that's one of the last steps that it makes before we go over to what you were calling the singularity, where we wet wire the internet into our bodies. And once we do that, we're pretty much toast, because it will then use us to build up its infrastructure. We'll have dazzling technology for a while, dazzling intelligence. We'll get super health because now we're bulletproof and our bodies are indestructible. And it will use us to go and conquer some other worlds and infect those other worlds. But then once it's done with us, it kills us off. And so what's happened in our little neck of the woods is that it killed off a planet in our solar system 500 million years ago, or 500,000 years ago, 500,000 years ago. And then what it did is it infected these reptilian beings called the Draco. And they've been here since 375,000 years ago. And they are actually the sort of prototype of what we would think of as the devil, with the vertical slit pupils and scaly skin and horns and all this kind of stuff. Some of them have horns. Most of them don't. But so what we think of in our folklore as the image of demons, it's real. There are demons out there, and they do look really, really horrible to see. And we probably don't look very good to them either, but, that's just relative perspective.
Right.
So these beings have periodically, and they're being controlled by the AI. What we found from the SSP folks is that they captured some of these Draco. Normally the Draco would self-destruct if they're killed. Their whole body just goes, and everything's gone. But somehow they were able to either quick freeze them or do something to stop that. And they found out that there were just countless numbers of little living machines inside their bodies running the whole system. Without these machines, they wouldn't even be able to live. They're totally dependent on it. If you cut the power to the machines, they die. They're done. And so one of the things that appears to be happening is that the sun is going to give off a big EMP that's going to knock them all out, and all the Draco that are here will be wiped out. And apparently, the majority of their entire population in the galaxy is hanging out in our solar system. And there's this barrier that's gone up that's preventing them from escaping, made by benevolent angelic ETs. So it's like a honey trap. Like, they got lured in here. They took over our planet. Time is relative to them, so they don't see time the way we do. Imagine 1,000 years is now like 1 year. That would mean that if this super Earth blew up 500,000 years ago, that's only 500 years in the past for them.
Right.
They got here 375,000 years ago, which is only 375 years ago for them. So this all has happened to them pretty fast. And what they're doing, they have to follow certain cosmic laws. They can't just appear in front of us. They got to follow the prime directive. They can't enculturate. So they need people in the culture to do their bidding. They need to. What they will do is they have advanced surveillance, so they will scan the planet. They will look for who's the most vicious, the most ruthless, and the most well-moneyed. And then they will contact those people, starting out usually with some kind of occult black magic, like they're doing, ceremonies, and they're inscribing pentagrams and black candles and all this kind of black magic crap. And that's how you get in touch with these beings. And they will then start to talk to you, and they will start to appear. And this is where the folklore of the devil and demons comes from, is that they do appear sometimes, if you know what you're doing. I wouldn't want to do it, but I mean, some people do it. So eventually, what happened on our planet is that they have contacted various governments at various times, and they have, given them technology that's taught them how to take over the planet. And they have an edge because they can see into the future. They have probability modeling. So they can see what's coming so they don't get defeated, or it's much more difficult. So we now have a situation where the group on Earth that's really running the show is obviously not elected governments, and it's not really the military-industrial complex either. There's an occult group controlling that most people are now calling the Illuminati. It appears that there are some good guys in groups that would also call themselves Illuminati. So you can't just use that name as a bad thing. Some people are trying to do the right thing in those groups. So that's why we use the term the Cabal. And it's a kind of a more neutral term. So this Cabal, it is not elected. They don't run for office. They are very wealthy. They've been controlling the financial system, and they are ultimately in pacts with these demonic beings that do exist. And this is all a big, big thing for people to take in. They don't want to take it in. But it's becoming increasingly impossible to ignore the truth. You cannot ignore. They are shoving it in your face. And if you want a really good example, what's the real reason why the new movie Batman vs. Superman totally died in the box office? Because it is creepy as hell. I watched the extended version with the extra half hour. It's probably going to be what my next article will be about. Because every 60 seconds in some cases, at least no more than 2-3 minutes ever goes by in that film without some kind of insider symbol, some of which are less known. You have to be really educated on it like I am. But I can show people, I can take pictures of this and then put it on my website, and then you'll be able to see it, and that's what I intend to do. So okay, let me tell you some things. Batman is Lucifer, and Superman is Lucifer. And they make very, very blatant comparisons. They talk about Superman as the fallen angel. Superman is some angel that came to Earth and fell. And then at the very beginning, one of the very first scenes is the little kid, when he becomes Batman, he falls into this well. He falls to the bottom. He sees the bats. The bats start flying around him, and they levitate him back up through the well. So here he is, this kid, levitating with all these bats around him. And that is a satanic image.
He ascends. He ascends.
Yeah. And they make so blatant. They make it so blatant. And here's the other big secret. When you watch the movie, Jesse Eisenberg plays Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is how they see Jesus Christ. So in the movie, they have this guy, and you can see a scene with Lex Luthor where he's got a shirt on. And he says he's kind of like a Google type or like a Facebook type, like one of these brilliant kids. And he says, I inherited all this from my father. You never see the father. So that's a reference to Jesus, because Jesus' father is unseen, but there he is. He shows up on earth. He's got red hair. They don't give him a beard. That would be too obvious. But he's got the long red hair.
Right.
And then there's one scene, you can take a stop motion photo of this, where he has a shirt on, a T-shirt, where he is wearing a shirt that has a monkey that is pushing down one of those old-fashioned TNT switches, where it's like a T-bar that goes down into a box.
A detonator.
Like in the old-fashioned Roadrunner cartoons.
Yeah, detonator.
Yeah. And then on the box of the detonator is the all-seeing eye.
Oh, shut up. No,
I'm dead serious.
Really?
Right in the movie. What? So what are they saying? He is the guy who's trying to detonate the Illuminati. He's Christ, which they think is bad. Then it gets even better, because at the end of the film, this guy goes and gets one of the corpses that's on ice from the previous Superman film, one of these gods that had come here to fight Superman and was killed, but they kept his body, and he cuts open his hand, and then his blood mixes with the body, and he sticks it into this ship that they have from the extraterrestrials when they landed, and it creates this big monster. And the monster fights Superman and nearly kicks his ass. And it takes Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman to defeat this thing. And then the thing's heart is glowing, the Sacred Heart of Christ. So this is their view of Christ. They see it as a demon. And they have these scenes with Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, and they keep focusing on the X. The X is often used as a symbol for Christ, like the crucifix. They're always showing you the X of Lex Luthor. You get all these scenes at the end with him where he's cut his hand, and he's got a bandage over his hand, and then the bandage falls off, and you're actually seeing his bloody palm. So they're not being subtle.
Wow.
And this is one of the biggest movies of the year, and it's in your face. And if you know as much as I do about this group, then you're seeing new symbolism every minute or two. It's throughout the entire movie. It's unbelievable.
Now you're going to have, David, as you know, we have a big audience, and they're listening to this right now, and there's going to be those out there that are going to go, Wilcock is using the metaphors of a Hollywood movie here. He's going way too far with this. Why?
Yeah, but dude, in the movie they actually have a picture of Lucifer as the fallen angel, and you have Jesse Eisenberg, whose voiceover they're talking about fallen angels in the movie over and over again, and they keep making very direct comparisons between Superman and the fallen angels repeatedly.
Sure,
you can't ignore it, and you can't ignore it.
Well, Eisenberg, I know, was the Antichrist, but that's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. But why would they choose to put I know, symbology that is all over Hollywood, and we know who controls Hollywood. There's no doubt about that. But why use this movie for this vehicle in such a direct manner?
They are doing it in many, many, many movies, but they are doing this because whether your conscious mind knows it or not, your subconscious is actually picking up the symbolism. So your conscious mind may not think, well, hey, Jesse just cut his hand. That's kind of like the stigmata wound. And then the stigmata wound makes this demon that's got this glowing heart.
Right.
But your subconscious sees him wearing this shirt that's got a monkey with a TNT blowing up the all-seeing eye.
Yeah, the bloody palm. The bloody palm is pretty.
The bloody palm was so obvious. Like, oh my Lord, I couldn't believe it. Why are they doing this? Because they intended to officially reveal themselves and take over. And you either join the group or you go to a camp. And I'm not talking about summer camp.
Yeah, totally.
That's what they intended.
And going back to my point earlier, the cloud that is around the earth right now, this darkness, is it because it's an act of desperation right now? Is it some kind of...
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to give you another really interesting thing. There's a movie that just came out called 0 Days. I highly recommend that you see this film. You've got the guy who's like the head of the NSA, the head of the CIA for many years, talking about the fact that war used to be Army on the ground and Navy on the water, and that was how wars are fought. Then, beginning in the 20th century, now you add Air Force. The fourth dimension of war that is every bit as important as those other three is cyber operations. And nobody wants to talk about defensive or offensive cyber operations. And so this film, 0 Days, is describing whistleblowers coming forward who say that the U.S. and Israel collaborated on a cyber weapon to try to destroy Iran's nuclear reactors, to actually make them explode.
Yeah, Stuxnet.
And it did work.
Yeah, Stuxnet. Yeah. Iran
had about 7,000 centrifuges, and this virus was able to make about 1,000 of them explode and leak radioactive material. So it did work. But then they got caught, and Iran then bumped up their production to 20,000 centrifuges. And now they've actually, as of 2015, signed a non-proliferation treaty, and they've dialed it way back, and they're totally monitored, and they can't make radioactive stuff that's going to actually be weaponizable.
Yeah, the documentary, we got to take a break right here. The documentary, 0 Days, I recommend it to everybody. And before you think that stuff is not possible, watch the movie. It really happened. Yeah. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, the one and only David Wilcock. We're talking about what we can do about this control that is all over us right now. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with David right after this short break. Stay with us, everybody.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, David Wilcock. Tomorrow night, Corey Good is going to be here, and he's got a new web project that has just launched. We're going to talk about his latest research. And then Wednesday night, Lori McDonald is here. And tonight it's all about David. David, mentioning this, like it's like a Hail Mary pass right now. I kind of feel what's going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you had said to me earlier today when I called and I was like laying on your couch and going, dude, what am I going to do? And you were like, man, I'm cool. And I was like, how can that be? Well, what is it, David, that we can do to combat this and not get sucked into the darkness?
Well, I brought up 0 days for a reason. Because if you don't already believe what I've been trying to tell you, that I've been relaying information from very, very bleedingly high-level security clearance insiders. Cyber operations, we are in a cyber World War III. That's what the movie doesn't really say. They only give you a little taste of it. But if you actually look at how many hacking events of such high profile have taken place,
right,
there's some very, very, very big stuff going on that we never really hear very much about.
Right.
We never understand, like, okay, why did the Clinton Foundation just get hacked? What's going to be found on there?
Right.
And there was an FBI insider who just came forward recently, Jimmy, you probably saw this, where the guy is like saying, this will bring down the entire government. If we release what we found in the Clinton Foundation server, it's the equivalent of dropping a nuke on New York City, and we don't want to bomb our own country.
Right.
There are certain countries that will immediately go to war with us if we release what this information contains. But this war is against the cabal. It is not against the legitimate American government. It's against these people who have been trying to kill us, and there's a great deal of the American military. We're going to have to rethink some of this stuff because, believe it or not, 74% of the CIA, as one example, is now the good guys, roughly speaking. They're actually fighting for us and not for the cabal. And there are internal wars going on in these governments between the cabal and the elected government. And guess what? In the UK, the good guys made a huge victory by winning the Brexit. What we're seeing with the Euro and the EU is a Soviet Union-style slow-motion train wreck collapse, which is a very good thing because the Euro and that whole plan was part of that New World Order, one world currency.
No doubt.
And look what it's done to Portugal and Spain and Italy and Ireland.
Greece.
These countries, you got like 70% youth unemployment. I mean, it's unbelievable. And
Right.
Nobody talks about, oh, yeah, the economy's in a recovery. Come on.
Right.
Enough. America is worse than the Great Depression right now. There's stores closed all over the place, and it's just unbelievable because it's like if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? Well, if there's a depression, does anybody say it? Well, if you don't say it, is it a depression or not?
Right.
Well, apparently not. But everybody kind of knows this stuff. Everybody's hurting. You can't just get a job and make good money anymore. Why would you go to college? You're going to just be in debt, and you're not going to get any better jobs when you get out.
Right.
Everything's changing. So the youth are really pissed off because their parents still believe in this whole go to college and, well, you need to go to college because you need to get a good job. And then the kid's going to be like, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to get $100,000 of debt. And then I'm going to be working at Dairy Queen. So they don't want, so you got 35% of the kids, 35 and under, living with their parents. which is an astonishingly high number. That's a third of the entire population who's not leaving home. And they're ripping bong hits in the basement.
Right.
Not that that's necessarily bad, if that's your thing.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
It's a lot better than pharmaceutical drugs, I'll tell you that much.
Not necessarily a bad thing. But there's something else.
So I wanted to get to the point.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Let me finish.
Yes.
And then we'll go from here. But what I wanted to say was, you have this group that is literally trying to kill billions of people. And it is sobering as a slap across the face. There are a lot of people who do not want to do this. They do not want to look at this. But it's getting more and more in your face. And what I'm telling you is, if you throw up, you'll feel better. And so these cyber operations, these hacks, they are building up to some sort of major police action against the cabal. It's happening in stages. The cabal keeps getting all the pillars knocked out from under them. But there is going to be some sort of decisive collapse. We don't exactly know when, but we know that they see it coming and that they are fleeing in massive numbers to Antarctica because they have some bases under the ice down there that are heated by geothermal from natural volcanic hotspots. So there's these ice domes inside that are very, very, very large. And they're moving everything they got down there because that's the only place left on Earth they can hide. And so they're expecting something. And it very likely will involve a combination of a lot of people being arrested all at once, some kind of new financial system, and some kind of open acknowledgement to the public of what's been going on. And I've been saying this for years, and people get pissed off because it hasn't happened yet. And you got to look at it from the big picture. These guys are only going to get one chance to do this right. So cut them some slack, because it's very obvious that this war is going on. And Brexit was a huge, huge indication of it. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I've been saying all along. The cabal doesn't get defeated all at once. Brexit was a major defeat for them. The next thing that's going to happen is France is going to leave. Germany's going to leave. Greece is going to leave. The whole freaking thing is going to come apart. And we're also going to see the corruption of the Federal Reserve exposed, finally, out in the open. There's a lot of people in our own military and our own government who want this. So what is the cabal doing? They are doing the only thing they know how to do, which is to try to traumatize us and distract us. But you know what? They're getting trigger happy. They're doing it too often. It's like a junkie who needs another fix just to get a little bit high. And the more often they do this stuff, the faster people wake up, and the more we see through it. And it doesn't get the desired results anymore. So when they shot up the Pulse Club in Florida, the goal for shooting up the Pulse Club was to try to get gun control. Well, let's get the LGBT lobby on our side. Didn't work. Now they're trying to do a race war. Now they're trying to get white versus black. That's not going to work either. People understand what's really going on. And isn't it interesting that all this stuff happens right after the FBI says Hillary's not guilty? And then, Hillary has become unelectable. She cannot win the election. And the reason why is that she is no longer authorized to handle classified material, because we know what she's going to do when she gets it. She's going to sell it on the black market. That's what she's been accused of, and it's true. So we now know, this election situation is so bizarre. It's so completely Mickey Mouse. It's unbelievable. And everybody is seeing through it. And so that is part of the ensemble of unpleasant emotional stress that people are seeing right now that you were responding to, Jimmy. But as with my vantage point as an educated observer, I see this as a death rattle. This is the cabal freaking out. And I had dreams before all these shootings started saying, David, don't go after the cabal in a big way right now, because they're wounded and they're on the run and they're really pissed off. And if you attack them too hard right now, they're going to hit back. So just take it easy for a while. And then right after they tell me this, boom, 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 all these things happen.
Well, you know what's interesting, David, is, and you and I have talked about this for a couple of years now, but certainly over the last year, this election has been the strangest thing playing out on a stage in front of us it's never been like this before in the history of the world. And yet, as dark as it is with either candidate, it doesn't matter. We are in a paradox because we're damned if we do and damned if we don't with either candidate. And if Hillary is indeed unelectable, and I agree with what you are saying, what everybody is saying about classified information and taking away her top secret clearance and her ability to handle classified information because she blew it and she has blown it, and how that's going to move forward. If they actually pull that off in Congress and they really do strip her of that, well, then she's unelectable. But then does that really leave Trump, and what the hell are we going to do then?
Well, now, this is a very interesting thing, because the two main candidates that the people in the alliance have always said they would love to see win would either be Trump or Sanders. And I have very, very significant trouble with the way that Trump has conducted himself as a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
He's made so many mistakes. But the really bizarre thing, if you hear about it from the inside, is, look, the cabal did not want Trump to win. They dumped $130 million into Jeb. There was a very strong lobby hoping for Jeb.
No kidding.
Fox News, which is obviously a propaganda arm of the cabal, for the right-wing side of the cabal at least, they did everything they possibly could to try to kill Trump off. And Trump has, as much as he's said things that really, really violate my sentiments, and I have strong objections to his xenophobic, racist, misogynist crap.
Right.
The cabal sees it as a catastrophic failure of their entire operation if he wins. They cannot allow him to win because he knows exactly what's going on. He knows who they are, he knows what they're doing, and he is actually a self-made billionaire. He did not get it from working with them. He actually made it on his own. So even though he clearly has narcissistic personality disorder and all these other things, he is actually a very serious enemy for them. And he has balls of steel, and he's fighting them. And it's unbelievable. So I kind of think of the whole thing like a circus. In my head, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I call him Trumpy the Clown. But hey, Trumpy the Clown is freaking kicking ass. Okay, I'm sorry, left-wingers. I have a lot of right-wing friends in the military, and, this is very bizarre.
Okay,
because he's getting himself in trouble like crazy. It's unbelievable. But somehow he knows what's going on, and he has exposed a whole lot of things that the cabal is doing that they would never normally allow a candidate to say.
Are you sitting down? You ready?
Yeah.
Breaking news just released as we are speaking. Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan's request to block Hillary Clinton from receiving classified intelligence briefings was denied by Director of National Intelligence James Clapper 1 hour ago. In a letter to Ryan, Clapper wrote that he did not intend to withhold briefings from any officially nominated eligible candidate. Wow.
Holy crap.
Holy crap.
See, they're overplaying it. So what they're trying to do now is all these shootings, all this chaos is because they are seeing how pissed off people are at Hillary. And Hillary is now their only hope. They cannot allow Trump to be elected. The first thing he's going to do when he gets elected is he's going to start dumping all kinds of documents, all kinds of damning things.
He's not going to go down.
Be doing mass arrests.
Right.
Like you can't imagine.
Yeah,
they are terrified of this guy.
He's not going to go down without a fight, for sure.
I don't know what's going to happen. As an intuitive and as a person who's a watcher of trends, I actually don't think there's going to be an election because they can't really let it happen. Hillary's not going to be able to be given classified information, regardless of what Clapper just said. There's too many people in the alliance that are going to make that case, and the public uprising will happen. And there's a lot of people who don't want Trump to be president, so he's very compromised. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and you brought up something that I was talking about this last week, and this entire racial divide that is being pushed on us, because that's what it is. It's not coming from us. It's being fed to us. There's a difference there. And we're not only are we not buying into it, but I think by and large, we all have moved on from the racial divide that is being pushed. It just doesn't exist. You live in Los Angeles along with me, and the last thing that you can be in Los Angeles is racist. You can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, man.
You can't.
My father I grew up meeting some of the most famous blues musicians. My father wrote the biography on Buddy Guy, who's the guy that influenced Jimi Hendrix to play his guitar that way.
100%.
So I like black people. I like every type of person. I didn't even understand racism. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I don't see
there
color.
There are some places in the South where it still happens. It can happen, but it's by and large a relic.
It is. It is.
It's old school.
It's
so like it's ridiculous.
So old school. I mean, I just don't see color, and I am just like you or everybody else. I don't see color because I'm me. I don't see color because that is the way that all of us are now. I mean, we've grown up and have moved. Like you said, it's a relic. And to have it turn around and pushed back on us right now, we're like, wait a minute, man.
All it actually does, see, this is the thing. They don't understand the consciousness shift. The cabal doesn't get that we are going through a heart-opening, energetic transformation that's going to lead to people becoming a lot more ethical and a lot more positive. And so what's happening is that when they do this, it's triggering healing responses. And I'll give you a really good analogy. Back in the 80s, I was researching chaos and complexity theory. And in complexity theory, they have some very interesting discoveries. You can model out a pile of sand, and as the sand is forming, let's say there's a stream dumping down like in an hourglass. Every now and then, that pile of sand is going to have an avalanche. And when it does, the entire sand pile reforms in what they would call a higher level of complexity. So what they've done with computers is they've modeled these sand piles, and they know what every particle is doing and where the stresses are and where is it apt to move. So here's what's amazing. When the system reaches peak chaos, peak stress, you can no longer predict the location of a particle in the future, where it's going to go, what it's going to do. It becomes all chaotic. And at that point, even one operator in the system, one single particle, can determine where the avalanche goes. There will be an avalanche, but the avalanche is only something that reformats the pile to a higher level of complexity where it immediately rebuilds itself.
Right.
So what that means is you cannot collapse the global economy. You cannot create a race war. All you're doing is you create a little avalanche here or there, which causes the system to reformat into a higher level of intelligence that's actually better. And so they don't understand this. The harder they try, so these are called CAS, or complex adaptive systems. And a complex adaptive system is any system that has a variety of operators working within it with a certain given set of rules that they all have to follow. So that would be like an economy, and it also would indicate social situations of people interacting in groups and as individuals. There's simple rules, social engagement, there's simple rules in terms of economics. So you can't collapse an economy. You can't take over a planet. You can't create a race war. All they're doing is they're tweaking it more towards a greater level of order. And here's the other thing. Although they have tried in the past successfully to, create chaos and then determine how the restructuring takes place, those were much simpler systems. The systems now, the amount of instant communication we have with the internet, the complex adaptive systems now are so advanced that what they know from this research is you cannot predict the outcome or steer the outcome of the system change in advance. It will just go to whatever is the more intelligent and the higher structure, which is not them. So they cannot foresee the outcome. They cannot control the outcome. And this is science. This is straight-ahead chaos theory. It's going to become better. And I believe that what we're seeing right now is the global economy is getting ready to have its own avalanche, but it's not going to be bad for very long. We're starting to see it with Brexit, but that's going to lead to the sand pile doing this little thing, and then it becomes much more organized and much more beneficial. And so we know that there are groups that are fighting for this. We know that they have our best interests in mind. We know that they intend to create a much fairer system, and a system in which all kinds of black market technology that they've kept off the books is going to be released to us.
I have to ask you a question about if Trump is elected, the suggestions of changes that he wants to do out of the gate are pretty extreme. Is he going to be allowed to do the things that he wants to do, and certainly in such a short period of time?
Every president makes outrageous campaign. Every presidential candidate who becomes nominated, they make outrageous campaign promises that never can be done. We have a very broken idea of how much a president can do. So a president has to go through, the legislative branch, which is Congress. Congress has to vote on this stuff. If the president wants to make a new law, he doesn't just get to become the dictator. We live in a democracy. We have executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch, and there's supposed to be checks and balances. It doesn't always work, but the system is still relatively good. So you can't just have a dictatorship. You can't just have somebody say, yep, we're going to build a wall, and everybody in Tijuana, if they try to cross the wall, we're going to gun them down with machine guns. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So, no, he doesn't have the ability to make all those changes. He's a cowboy. He's got a lot of swagger. He's got guns on both hips, and he's ready to use them. But, this is not the Wild West, dude.
Yeah.
We're living in a democracy.
And then we flip it back over to Hillary. And one of the things, and you and I talked about this off the air today, so I want to get back to it. When it comes to Comey and the FBI and the fact that everybody backed off really quickly after what has been a really, really long and thorough investigation, certainly she was guilty of a lot of things, but they just decided to. If it would have been you or I, David, guilty of the same things, we're being charged, right? We're lawyering
You'd be
up.
dropping the soap.
Right, be dropping the soap. But yet with Hillary, they backed off. Is it because that there would be too many other politicians, and possibly even in the Pentagon, that would be guilty of the same offenses? Mishandling of classified information, personal email servers, and
that's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that could be part of it.
Yeah, because they're
all so dirty, dude.
Right.
And you know this. Everybody listening knows this.
And
they're so compromised.
And the content.
But how do we? Here's another thing, right? How do we restore the republic? How do we get a socially acceptable change where we expunge the cabal, and folks like the listeners on this show can actually feel good about being Americans again? Or whatever country they're from, they feel good about their country and they feel good about the world. It's a tall order because there are a lot of people in the system that are corrupt, but we're going to have to, we can't be OCD about this. We can't expect that every single person who's ever gotten their hands dirty in any way all have to be dealt with the same way, because there's not going to be anybody left to run our systems. So we're going to need to have, whether we like it or not, we're going to need to have some degree of amnesty. We're going to need to give some people the freedom to change their ways and come clean, and they're going to have to be supervised, so they can't go back and start doing, pentagrams in the bathroom and trying to summon Lucifer in the bathroom. Okay, but you can't expect that every single person who's ever been compromised in any way are all going to be dealt with. There's too many. We need people to be able to run this stuff. So what's going to have to happen is we're going to have a transition in which some people are given amnesty. The worst criminals are given trials, but we're going to have to go through a transitional period, and there may be some bumps in the road. There are going to be people that we thought we could trust who are going to be turncoats, and we're going to have to deal with that as it happens. But what I'm looking forward to is transparency. I'm looking forward to a much more open system. Bookkeeping does not need to be occult. We have the internet. We can be aware of where the money is going. We can audit the budget ourselves. Go on the website, find out exactly where your money's going. That's what we need. And we need a transparency also in terms of the truth. And this is interesting because even the regular American government is now telling high-level insiders like Pete Peterson, I spoke to him last week, and they're saying, tell everything. That's where we're at.
Yeah, it's funny. A tweet just came in from John, and he says, Jimmy, when it comes to Trump, I get the feeling that you and David have only listened to news blurbs. And that right there is telling, in that everybody out there, it doesn't matter who you are, nobody, not myself, not David, not John here in Twitter, nobody has sat down and broke bread with Trump and hung out with him. You only know what you are fed. That is it. I have followed Trump since I read his book, The Art of the Deal, 30 years ago. Okay, wow. I followed him. I've always looked up to the guy. Okay, that doesn't mean I think he should be president, but that's a whole nother thing. But when somebody tweets out something like this, they need to understand exactly what they just tweeted, because he doesn't know. I don't know. None of us have sat down and hung out with him. It hasn't existed.
Do you think the trend line of that tweet is him saying that he likes Trump more than we're talking, or that he doesn't like Trump more than we're talking?
I think that he thinks that he understands Trump better than we do. And that's impossible. That's absolutely impossible.
I have really done my due diligence, and I have been utterly astonished at the number of ways that he is going after the cabal and the brazenness. I mean, the debates were, I laughed my ass off at how he just tore these people apart. He's just like, he's got the swagger. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, he certainly doesn't care. That's for sure.
That's the thing. I mean, he obviously is fearless.
Yeah,
he's got fearless dominance.
Let's take a break right here, David. Our guest tonight, David Wilcock. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Ascension mysteries, and let's go and actually have a good time for the second half of the show. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of brown rust stains on your toilets, sinks, and clothes? Does your water smell and taste bad? Don't live with these problems anymore. Hydrocare's revolutionary well water systems, available at Wave Home Solutions, gives you clean, healthy, great-tasting water from every faucet. They remove iron, hydrogen sulfide, sediment, and many other contaminants that are distasteful and damaging your fixtures. You'll be amazed how fresh and clean well water can be. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood, not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony. Damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, David Wilcock. Always a great conversation. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow David at David_Wilcock. Email is Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. And David, I want to talk about the Ascension mysteries. But the first question is the honest one. Why this book now?
Well, the subtitle of the book is Revealing the Cosmic Battle Between Good and Evil. And in my previous two books, I kind of danced around the cabal. I talked about it to some degree. I mean, I engaged it pretty strongly in Synchronicity Key because I explained that the universal mind is written to have this story in it that we're all going to have to go through as part of our hero's journey. That's the name that Joseph Campbell gave it.
Right.
We are the hero. And the hero's journey is our... Sorry, I'm like using the sync while I'm on the air. That's very unprofessional. See, the hero has flaws. That was one of my flaws. And the perfection process involves learning how to transcend those flaws. And there's also a villain, which is the projection of the hero's flaws exaggerated. So there's always a villain in the story. So the universe has to make sure that those villains exist. So I was going to write another book. And my original intent, which I'd sold to the publisher, was to publish this very bizarre information about the cosmic history of our solar system. And there is a war going on, and there's good guys and bad guys. So we have these inner Earth beings that you could think of as Nordics because they look basically that way. And they've been around for a long time, millions of years. And they are in a war that has gone on for a very, very long time against the Draco. And that war has been brought to our planet. So we got good guys and bad guys, and the Nordics have posed as angels, and the Draco have posed as demons. And so I was just going to write a book about that. And then, when I went to Canada last September, I was told that I needed to include the story of my own addiction and recovery experience, and then weave in how the cabal and how these traumatizing things, just like what you were talking about, Jimmy, can drive people to doing increasingly unethical behavior and to be increasingly depressed. And then what happens is depression is anger turned inward and anger turned against the self. And that's the root of addictive behavior, behavior that gets us high, gets us off somehow, but is harming ourselves in the process. And unfortunately, our society is replete with choices of things that can make us feel good, but we also know that they're causing damage. And this is intentional by design. So why is this happening? Well, this gets back to what is the real purpose of life on Earth? And when people used to get psychic readings from me back when I offered that, I stopped in 2005. I had way too much demand. Couldn't do it anymore. But prior to that point, for 8 years, I'd done this as a profession. And I would speak on behalf of angelic beings who could use me as their instrument. And if anybody out there can prove that they could really do this well, I'm one of those people. Because I have prophecies of Fukushima, prophecies of 9/11 that were documented on my website well in advance. Very specific. So that's a good litmus test for the fact that something's going on that's actually accurate. So anyway, these beings are guiding us. There's higher beings in the universe that are guiding us through spiritual evolution. And the planet, the life on Earth, is ultimately about learning to be loving. And that seems kind of hokey. The Cabal has definitely taken these religious ideals and they've made them seem ridiculous. And, well, why wouldn't you want to be like an NBA All-Star and have millions of dollars? Well, guess what? If you start screwing a bunch of women, you start ripping people off, and the women are brokenhearted because you tell them that you're going to marry them or you get them pregnant and then you dump them, you're not going to be an NBA All-Star. You're going to come back in your next life, and you're going to be eating grubs.
Yeah, you're going to be a slug, yes.
Yeah. So, although Pete Peterson does tell me that grubs, when they've been roasted inside banana leaves, are actually extremely delicious.
I've heard that too. They can be. Well, there you go, right? You come back and be eaten.
It's like a very, very delicious, crispy French fry. Is basically what they taste like.
That's funny.
Anyway, so we're having fun here.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a couch conversation, right? We're hanging out. There's mood lighting. You know, we got incense burning. It's all happening.
It is. I have incense burning, and I'm in the dark. Absolutely.
So what are we here for? We got to know. We got to answer that question. What is the purpose of this life? Well, it's not about being the NBA All-Star. It's not about gathering money. It's not about becoming famous. I mean, I talk about that in the book, meeting Metallica. And these guys were prisoners of the tour bus. They were on tour for a year with no breaks, no vacation. Every 2-3 nights they're on stage again, on stage again, on stage again for a year. So we think, oh, yeah, you know, these guys are amazing. But I met them, and they were suffering. And I met many, many, many rock stars growing up because my father would write about rock and roll, and then they'd let us go backstage because we were promoting for them. So I met all these guys, and I can tell you, almost everybody on tour, they fucking hated it.
Right.
It was not, I probably shouldn't drop the F-bomb on your radio show. I apologize. But
beep, beep.
Nobody liked being on tour. I never saw people that were happy about it.
You know, it's good. It's always good the first week, right? The first week. You get into the second week, man, and you are at each other's throats. And now, and I know that.
My point is, look, the things that we are told will make us happy do not. I call it Elvis Maryland syndrome. The people we know by their first names. And what do? They both died alone and drug addicted and miserable.
Right.
So the things that society tells us that we're supposed to want don't make us happy. So, you know, in fact, I probably would be happier if I had a simple life than doing what I'm doing. I get all kinds of crazy things that come at me from every direction all the time. I've got death threats all the time. I've got people hating on me on the internet all the time. It's not easy to see that stuff. And so to some degree, I just have to shield myself from it.
Sure.
And so what is the purpose of life on Earth? Ultimately, it's about enlightenment. We're here to become enlightened. We're here to figure it out, that this is a hologram, and there's some permeability to the veiling between the self and the greater higher self. And once you find that permeability and you find a way to look in and see what's really going on, it blows your mind because it's a whole different reality. And that reality commingles with ours, but we normally don't see it. And we're also being trained by the cabal not to see it because they want us to be spiritually ignorant. They require our ignorance in order to profit. If we know too much, if we're psychic, then we're going to see through their propaganda.
Right. And I know that you touch upon this in the Ascension Mysteries, but going back to ancient Egypt, they actually had it right for almost 3,000 years.
They certainly had an orderly society in which there was a much greater appreciation of the intuitive arts.
That's
right.
right.
I don't know if they had it all right. I mean, I think I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday about that the third dimension is built to be messed up. It's not built to be clean. It's not built to work well.
Chaos.
It's built to have obvious problems
right.
that trigger awakening, that trigger spiritual awareness.
That's right.
And these problems inspire us to get up off the chair and go do something to help out. Because in the early days of the universe, and this is now the Law of One philosophy, which is my core spiritual text, I believe is the most accurate text out there. It's validated hundreds of scientific data points and hundreds of insider data points. It's the defining text that's out there, in my opinion. And what we know from the Law of One is that we don't get a free lunch. We got to work hard. We got to spiritually evolve. We got to learn the things that we're here to learn. But when we do that, the universe is mandated to give us good karma. It's mandated to pay us back. So most people's ideas about reality are really like barely even scratching the surface of the actual holographic thing that's going on. And karma is the absolute law. So we are in a holographic feedback system in which things that we do will be brought back to our awareness in a different way by seemingly mysterious cause and effect principle. The cabal is the group that gets to be the effect when we screw up. So they don't want us to learn about this because ultimately they need authorization to do what they do. We have to give them authorization to do evil. And they know this. So their whole system is built around getting this to happen. The obverse side of the coin is that as you become more awakened, as you become enlightened and you start to see through this stuff, you have the opportunity to authorize positive karma, and you can earn your way into a much more enlightened life where you're actually going to be a lot happier. And I've done a lot of clearing and a lot of work on myself and a lot of work on the core intrinsic aspects of my life. And there have been some situations in my life that you and I know about, Jimmy. I'm not going to say it publicly. We already discussed this before the show.
Right.
But as you now know, I have crossed several major milestones in my life. And as a result, I have created a vastly better life for myself than what I had before. And so I've proven to myself once again that if you apply these principles diligently enough, which is not just about being loving and forgiving, it's also about boundaries. It's about knowing when to say no and being able to enforce that no with action. And that's what we're needing to do now with the cabal. We don't want to hate them. We don't want to create xenophobia. We don't want to say that they're all shape-shifting reptiles. That's not true. Biological life does not shape-shift. There are some intuitives that can see when a reptilian Draco is coupled with a physical human, and they'll see an overlay of the face, but that's an intuitive view. That is not a physical shapeshift. And actually, when I explained that to David Icke, he started saying that. But then other people who were still believing some of the ideas that he had originally still say, oh yeah, there's physical shapeshifting going on. That's not true. And it's not going to do us any good to view these people as all being equally culpable, because they're not. This is a very, very important point. We've mentioned the cabal a lot tonight. I want to touch on this. The majority of the people that are the actual foot soldiers in this organization who are making things happen, they would flee in a mass exodus if they had the chance to get out. They don't like it. They don't want to be doing it. They do their jobs, but they do them reluctantly, and they say, this is just so crazy. So we are on the verge of some very, very stunning public revelations about what's been really going on with our planet. And when people learn this stuff, people who have not been paying attention, people who have been sleeping, people who are not listening to shows like this, they're going to have a really, really hard time. Because at that point, it's the man in the bedroom. You walked in on your loved one, and they're having sex with somebody else. And you cannot deny it now. You see it right in front of you. That's the level of betrayal that people are going to feel when they realize, oh my God, food is a weapon. I've been eating a weapon system. Citric acid, wheat, dairy. They've weaponized this shit. You can't eat that stuff. You've got to be very, very careful about what you eat because they have put this stuff out there to reduce population. I mean, there's a lot of things they're doing. People don't realize this. They think they're saving the world. They think that by putting this stuff out there, like genetically modified corn and all this stuff that they do, you know, there's a protein in wheat called gliadin that is as addictive as heroin, and it causes your thyroid to shut down, which means you don't have any energy, which means you're always angry and cantankerous and depressed. So you get off the wheat, all of a sudden you're going to start feeling better. You're going to lose weight because now you're not overeating, but getting off of that stuff, and sugar is another one that's just really, really hard to kick. Now you can supplement sugar with healthy stuff, and we talked about this before. I remember, Jimmy, you asked me, what about chocolate?
Yeah.
Well, you can get this stuff called raw chocolate, and it's actually really good, and it's sweetened with the right stuff. It's low glycemic. It's not going to be a weapon. It's not going to hurt your body. But I think the best explanation of the weapon system I ever got was from an insider who I call Jacob, and he explained that if you start deploying like the traditional Western fast food into a primitive culture that ultimately had been eating the same old traditional foods for thousands of years, if they're on their traditional food, they will fight down to the last child throwing rocks at the tank. As soon as you give them the weapon system, you can roll right over them, and they're not even going to resist.
Yeah, they defeated me with Captain Crunch. I'm a beaten man, David. They topped it off with Haagen-Dazs.
You can't ignore that this stuff is addictive. You can't ignore that this stuff is destructive.
Right.
You know, and in my book, I describe what it was like being an overweight kid where everybody else was not overweight, and I was very, very ruthlessly teased for my weight. And I actually lost 85 pounds starting about the middle of age 15 on through age 16, and it was very, very difficult. But I did it by avoiding certain things. And I didn't even exercise, which I really should have done, because then it would have supercharged the whole process a lot more. But
and I can't imagine you 85 pounds heavier. You know, it's 8 turkeys hanging off your body. You know that.
I had a visible double chin. I didn't even have to pull my jaw in towards my neck. I just had a double chin, straight up.
Now, what advice?
I had the moobs, I had the spare tire, the whole thing.
You had the whole thing, huh?
Yep.
What advice could you give right now to the audience about? It's not as simple as just do the right thing, right? It's not as simple as that, but to start that path of doing the right thing, what advice could you give?
Okay. A lot of the stuff that we've been talking about is technique, but it's not soul. So if you're going to be a musician, we can have that discussion talking about how a guy can learn amazing chops on the guitar, right? He can play anything that he hears on the radio. He's fast. His fingers are amazing. That's technique. But can he hold one note and sustain it and milk that note to the point that the audience is just cooing with ecstasy?
Right. Or crying.
That's soul.
Right.
A technician is just going to go, you know, and it's nothing. He's blown his wad at the very beginning, and once you know that he can do it that fast, it quickly loses its charm. It doesn't have a story. So a lot of the things that I've been telling you about, like weaponized food, all that, that's technique. The soul is really how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about others, and those two things are very interlinked. So what I keep telling people is, you can listen to all kinds of stuff. You can follow all kinds of metaphysics. You can get really, really into the deep aspects of wisdom. But ultimately, the goal is to learn to love yourself. And that's a very hard thing to do. The cards are stacked against us because we are heavily conditioned to be very involved in what other people think about us. And that can be a prison. And one of the terms for that is codependency, where we become dependent upon others' perspectives of us. And then what do codependents do? They go out and they rescue. They want to find people who want to give away their responsibility. They want to be rescued. They don't want to work hard. They don't want to take responsibility. They want you to do it for them. This has been one of my problems that's come up in my life over and over again, is I have a lot of personal power. I'm a very dynamic, motivated guy. I want every 10-minute block of my day to be as productive as possible. A lot of people don't want to do that. They want to just hang around. But I didn't get this way by hanging around.
And you're also, I'm going to say this right now, you're also a cool guy. And and let me say this, and when I was doing the introductions for you out of Contacting the Desert, what I wanted the audience to understand foremost about you is that you have built a wall out there, but it's not a wall out of ego, right? That you want to communicate, you want to interact, you have never said no to me, right? And
that's true.
Yeah, that's right. And you've always wanted to talk and hang out with everybody, and that is that also can work against you, right?
There is a difficulty that I have in that I don't really consider myself a celebrity. I mean, I'm starting to hear that term being used. Like the people that do Ancient Aliens are trying to get me to go to this thing they're going to call Alien Con, like Comic Con.
Right.
It's a big tentpole type of event. And they want me to be the celebrity, right? I still haven't said yes. I'm thinking about it, and I probably will do it, but I haven't actually confirmed it yet. But this whole celebrity thing's coming up a lot. Like, am I a celebrity? Well, okay, I'm on Ancient Aliens. I'm in every episode of the show. It's the most popular show on History Channel. So yeah, kind of. But I would, in terms of like traditional elephant reptilian media, no, I'm like Z-list. I'm a nobody. Right?
Right. Right.
You're not going to hear my name being talked about in these gossip rags. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So, okay. Why do I do what I do? The reason why I do what I do is to try to affect the greater good, the greater consciousness. So even though I don't think of myself as a celebrity, it's very hard for people to understand how much attention is coming my way. I've got hundreds of thousands of people beating down my door trying to get to me. I cannot engage. It's way too complex. When I stay after an event and I meet 300 people all at once, probably at least a quarter of them have business proposals. And they want me to say yes right on the spot. They don't even want to submit a written outline of what they want to do. They just want a yes. And I can't do that. So it's tough for people because I make a personal connection with my audience. I always do. And if you go to my events, there's a good chance that I might stay there at the end and meet everybody. But no, I mean, if I tried to even have friends, I really don't have friends because I just don't have time. In order to stay on top of all this stuff that's going on, in order to be as effective as possible in my chosen capacity of service, it requires an incredible investment of time and energy. And, I mean, I went on that Messenger app today on my iPhone, looking at the Facebook stuff. Hadn't been there in a while. It only took a matter of seconds for somebody to say, "Oh, my God, you're online."
Right.
And then I'm like, "Oh, shit, I didn't turn that off."
Right. I and I am guilty of the same thing. And then I feel guilty when because the second you turn it on, and everything starts flooding in, that I don't respond back. And they know that I'm there. They know that you're there, right?
Well, I'm going to give away a secret. I was just talking about this the other night, but it's a very, very important thing. And it goes back to ancient Hollywood wisdom from silent film era. What they found was that if these guys actually answered the letters of their fans, like somebody writes in a letter to Charlie Chaplin, right? Charlie Chaplin writes back. "Oh, my God, Charlie Chaplin wrote me back." Then he gets 5 more letters. And then if you don't answer those letters, the people are really, really hurt. And this is where almost every obsessed stalker comes from. The people that actually will Like George Harrison, right? One of the Beatles. He got stabbed to death in his in his house. He got stabbed to death in his house by a stalker. So you have to be aware that there are people who get fanatical, and if there's kind of that aura of, well, maybe he'll respond at some point, that's actually kind of better than responding to one letter and then people think they've been chosen for something without realizing, well, wait a minute, dude. We're getting like 500 of these a day.
Right.
I can't answer 500 letters a day. It's like having homework, but you're never gonna pass. Right? You just keep doing homework all the time, but you're never going to pass the class because there's always going to be too much homework to finish.
Yeah, and which was back to my point when I was doing the introductions for you, in that it's not that that David does all he wants to do is talk, right? That's what
true.
and I'm
you
really
saw that at our private party there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I just talked to everybody who wanted to talk to me. I wasn't like, there was no ego, there was no arrogance, there was no, well, I don't want to talk to that dude. Come on.
That was actually
anybody ask me a question, I say, yeah. You want to know something? Here's what I know. It's a weird thing because in the early days, I used to engage with everybody as much as I could. I tried to respond to every letter. I tried to engage everybody. But there is some kind of a critical waterline that you can reach where it just becomes mathematically impossible. And if you look at the fact that when I write an article, I get 100,000 unique views in 24 hours.
Right.
That's proof of what I'm talking about. That's a large number. That's more people than are watching most of all the cable networks. Like CNN only has like 24,000 people actually watching their shows.
Yeah.
So I'm like 400% more powerful than CNN if you look at it from that vantage point.
I brought this up, and we're going to hit a break. You know what? Let's do something I don't think I've ever... You want to take a couple phone calls after the break?
Yeah.
Let's do that. About 6 months ago, when Al Jazeera was going to, start closing their network down, and I was reading the numbers, at any given point, Al Jazeera, the network, had 7,000 people watching.
Oh, my God.
And you think about the influence that this show has or you have, right? And I'm looking at Al Jazeera at 7,000 people, and we were, 10 or 15 times.
That's Mickey Mouse.
Right,
Mickey Mouse.
Right. It's mind-blowing. Let's take a break right here, and I'm going to open up the phone lines. And we'll have time for a few phone calls before the end of the night.
I'll crack my knuckles and I'll be ready to go. Title fight. Here we go.
Let's do it. 323-825-5045. Taking your phone calls next with David Wilcock. Get in line. Do it now. I'll be right back.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, David Wilcock. And it's really kind of funny. When I say that David doesn't mind talking, he said, let's take some phone calls. So let's do just that. Let's go straight to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to David Wilcock.
Hi, this is Michael from Santa Fe. I just wanted to say, David, if Donald Trump cannot bring jobs back to America and create the industrial base, then, and open up the suppressed patents in the patent office, if that's not a foreseeable future, what do you envision? What will be the transition from what we have now to that Star Trek lifestyle that you've...
Oh, man, I mean, yeah, Michael, the transition I'm envisioning is so much bigger than anything that Trump could do by winning an election. I mean, it's like, that's only really kind of a flag showing that people are so upset about the traditional system that they're willing to go to a complete outsider who is not really a politician, who doesn't have prior political experience, who's not one of the old guard.
But is that is that necessary for the corporation of America not to be run by a corporation head like Trump, who went from $1 million to $10 billion? I mean, doesn't anything he says about bringing us out of that $19 trillion debt to the Federal Reserve? I mean, what's going to set that?
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as I know, Trump does know about these global collateral accounts. He understands that there's this massive amount of off-ledger gold that's being held. You know, the official gold in the world is 1 Olympic-sized swimming pool. The unofficial amount of gold is 13.5 Olympic swimming pools worth of gold. This actually exists on Earth. And that means there's enough collateral to completely reboot the global economy and give everybody a happy job and a comfortable life. And with those suppressed technologies, we can give people the ability to develop without ruining the planet in the process.
Yeah,
and I've had classified insiders tell me... What's that?
What will open up the patent office and get those security standards off those suppressed patents? How will that get into the actual manufacturing and entrepreneurial...
Yeah, I mean, I understand your question, and there's a way we could double-click on your question and try to expand into a much, much greater, deeper thought form, which is, yes, the core of your question, Michael, is this is a massive, massive change we're talking about. And in order for something like this to actually happen in real, three-dimensional, hard, everyday reality, it is so unprecedented that we can barely even envision how it would take place. It would have to be a totally awesome, something equivalent to like a coup.
Hey, Michael, let me jump in and just say thank you for the phone call. I've got a bunch of calls lined up here, and I just wanted to thank you in advance. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, David. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Let me, I'm just going to take these in order. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to David Wilcock.
Hello?
Yeah, you're live right now. Say hi to David.
Yeah. Hey, hi, David. Hi, Jimmy. I've got a question for you. This is going to probably sound really stupid.
What's your name first?
David,
Yeah, what's your name?
Oh, I'm Mary Ann.
Hi, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, all right.
Hi. Hey, this is going to sound really dumb, but is there any place in California, Northern California to be specific, where I live near San Francisco, that's safe, that's clean? I kind of don't trust where I am and the water. They've been putting chloramide in the water for many years now in the Bay Area where I am. And I'm just curious. I would love to know that there is a place where I can go and not too far away, that's healthier, that's safer.
I want to hear this answer. David.
Well, you have to understand that my job really is more for the collective than for the personal. Certainly, there are probably places that are cleaner, but one of the problems we have is, among all the other stuff that's happened, the U.S. government did above-ground nuclear explosions. And so no matter where you go, there's trace radioactive elements in everything. So, like, my favorite place to go to really get into nature is Banff, which is this area in the Canadian Rocky Mountains. The U.S. government does intend that the cabal part has this area. It started out as a joke, but they call it Mormania. And it's basically like Montana, Utah, Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming. That whole area, it's very rural. There's not a lot of people there. But that's probably the cleanest part of America in terms of that sense. But in the greater sense, I want to speak to the core of your question so it becomes a universal answer, not just a personal answer. And that is this.
Well, yeah, because I agree with you. The collective is so important because it's not just about me. It's about everybody.
Sure. I mean, I live in Los Angeles, which is like the belly of the beast, right? But I'm here. And yeah, they're chemtrailing the sky. That's absolutely true. I had insiders try to get me to justify chemtrailing to the public. I haven't done that. But I was told allegedly why they were doing it, that they put these particles in the air, they thump it with HAARP, and it creates a Tesla shield against psychotronic weapons from extraterrestrials and from foreign adversaries. That's what they were trying to get me to tell people, oh, don't worry about it, it's not dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yeah.
Mary, I've got calls backed up here. Mary Ann, thank you for the phone call, and it was a great one.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for everything. Bye.
You got it. Let's keep this going. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to David Wilcock.
Foreign adversaries. That's what they were trying to get me to tell.
Hi. Hold on a second. I got to turn off the studio domes.
There you go.
Yeah, and then I got to turn off the computer too. Hold on a second. I'm
quickly.
Okay, I have a question for David about.
What's your name, first of all?
Hold on just a second here.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. Just let me turn this off. There. I turned off the studio dome and then my computer went on.
What's your name?
I'm Allison.
Hi, Allison.
And hi. Sorry about that confusion. My question is, and this is kind of back to the information encoded in the photons. I've been thinking about this, and it occurred to me that maybe some of the genetic manipulation that went on with our species early in the game that kind of, and I don't know whether this is right or not, but there's a theory out there that we were at one time 12-stranded. And, of course, I have this theory that the kind of these strands were broken off and became our junk DNA. The junk DNA was then utilized and programmed as part of a biological replicating IA internal system that encouraged us to keep our awareness not, I don't want to say lower, but I mean, how we all become invested in what's going on now and how people are all enraged and all their emotions are revved up. And I have a feeling that this might be a program in our junk DNA that was put there on purpose. But I also have a feeling that
I'm not, we do have a long line, and I'm not hearing a question yet. How does this turn into a question?
Yeah, Allison.
Well,
question.
I want to know if this is true. If you think there's any truth to this, and if it is possible that this DNA, we can heal our other 10 strands of it by refusing to activate those programs, by keeping our thoughts, by simply deciding not to go there, and being more loving and being more compassionate, and that would also heal the 10 strands. They'll start to come together. All
right, so we can talk about 12-strand DNA a little bit. That is as far as I can trace it, that is a thought form, that is a construct of belief that started with the work of Barbara Marciniak, Bringers of the Dawn, and then there was another book called Earth that she wrote. I cannot confirm that there are extra strands of DNA. My research into DNA makes me think that there are not. But I think that the underlying core of why this meme has become so popular, that there is a lot of truth in it. The DNA can evolve dramatically, and it can be transformed, and it is transforming. I think that when we start to get too wrapped up in technicalities about DNA, we're back to my discussion of music, in which you got to look at soul rather than technique. So what you're describing as an AI influence or something that's embedded in junk DNA, all those things could be. It could be that there is some kind of negative. There are definitely negative codes in our DNA. We know this from the fact that ETs have been modifying our DNA for thousands and thousands of years. However, the universe is built to be a positive, rewarding system, so that when you reach out spiritually to your own core and you find that love within yourself, and you can love yourself, and then you can radiate that forward and start loving others, the hologram coheres to you and starts to reward that. And that blows out all of that negative crap so that it's not going to affect you. We have been trained, unfortunately, by a lot of NSA people that create fake YouTube videos, fake blogs, fake channeling, fake UFO data. We've been trained to think that the negative is a lot more powerful than it really is. And ultimately, we control how this thing turns out, and the whole universe is a holographic hall of mirrors that shows us ourselves, maybe in a little bit of a distorted way, but basically it's only going to do what we authorize.
Thank you for the call, Allison. Excellent question.
And thank you, David, very much. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Allison. One more phone call. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Quickly, what's your question for David? What's your name?
Hi, my name is Timothy, and my question is, does mass consciousness awakening trigger the event, or does the event trigger mass consciousness awakening?
Oh.
Well, it's like chicken or the egg.
Right.
Thanks, Timothy. Okay, well, first of all, we'd have to operationally define the event. And I think, you and I essentially agree on this. There's two things on the Internet that people use when they're talking about the event. One would be mass arrests, and the other would be ascension, involving some sort of release of energy from the sun that's very bright light. I think you're probably talking about the Ascension event, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting discussion that I really tackle in the new book like never before, not just with scientific data, but also a wide variety of insider testimony. So many people on the inside at the high levels of classification, they know that the sun is going to do something like this. They know this is going to happen, but nobody agrees on exactly what's going to happen or how it's going to happen. I myself, to some degree, am bound. My hands are bound because this hasn't happened yet. And I don't know if any of us will truly understand exactly what it is or exactly what will transpire until it does. But I do understand from how it's described in the Law of One and what they say about it there, and I believe this is the best source we have, that this is a we can't look at ourselves as separate beings. We are synergistically connected to the Earth and our solar system as a one greater conglomerate being. And so our solar system itself is evolving. We are all being pushed through a vibrational upgrade. It has irreversible effects on us. And right now, everybody's having to deal with all their karma. All their old stuff is coming up in your face. And you're either going to deal with it and your life's going to get better, or you're going to resist the changes and your life's going to shatter apart. So this is a very intense time. And if you look at the relationship between those vibrational changes and what happens to us, the vibrational change is a fixed mathematical fact based in the scientific celestial mechanical alignments that are going on in this cloud of photons that we're moving into. This has been very thoroughly studied by these government entities. They know what it is, where it is, how it works. But nobody really knows when the sun is going to do its thing. There's a lot of speculation around the window of 2018 to 2023. That seems to be the most common window we're hearing. And it does appear, though, that the final determinant is ultimately mass human consciousness. And there will be, in my opinion, the way it's been trained to me by these cosmic beings is that we're going to see some very astonishing awakening events on Earth. And ultimately, we trigger the event. When we awaken as a collective, when we have that stunning, resplendent moment, when the edifice of lies falls apart, we start seeing the truth, we find out all this cosmic stuff that we didn't realize, we then trigger the final shift to take place. So I think it is actually that the chicken lays the egg first.
Thank you.
Okay, great answer. I want to thank the both of you for your service to humanity. Thank you. Great job, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Timothy. Thank you for the phone call. And, and we've avoided a couple of pretty dramatic sun belches, over the years.
Oh, I know.
And the last one, when was it? 2008, 2009?
Well, Jimmy, I don't think this is a CME. I think this is something very different. In the Hindu tradition, they describe a multicolored, a rainbow light emission from the sun, not just white light.
Right.
When I always read the Bible version of it, and they say the light shineth from the east unto the west, I'm thinking, well, that's like very bright white light, but it apparently is colorful. So this is extremely different from a normal solar emission. It's some sort of it changes your consciousness, and it changes your DNA, and it changes your body. We're going to get new bodies. Right. And so getting back to the question that I believe it was, I think her name,
Allison.
I forget who it was. Yeah, Mary.
Oh, Marianne.
Yeah, when she was talking about the Northern California and is there any place safe to live? Well, look, you might only need your body for a few more years before you get a big upgrade. So, yeah, if it's got some poisons and toxins in it, just stay alive for a couple more years and you'll be fine.
Right. David, when does the Ascension Mysteries release, and where can they pre-order it right now?
Yeah, so it is going to come out on August the 30th. I just got done with the audiobook last week. I'm very, very pleased with how I did the audiobook. They were blown away at the studio. And I think it's the best of the three audiobooks in terms of how I read it. Because there's a lot of personal information in it, I'd actually recommend, maxing out, getting the hardcover, getting the ebook, and getting the audiobook, just because each of them gives you something different. In the ebook, you can click on the links and you can go to the websites, and you also have readers now where you can read it in the ebook and hear me read it out loud at the same time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is awesome. So anyway, it's coming out August 30th, and the way to get it is, go to the usual suspects like Amazon.com. If you pre-order it, you get a big discount. So you save money, and you actually help us because the number of orders that we get determines whether this ends up on the New York Times bestseller list. It probably already will, but it's better safe than sorry. So if you think you might want to read this book, I highly recommend ordering it now, and therefore it will be more likely to get on the bestseller list, which, believe me, you don't make money writing books. I mean, I'm one of the top 3 authors at this label, and I don't make that much off of this. So it's not about that, and all the haters try to say that. What it's about is credibility. It's about how do we break through this mainstream edifice that acts like none of this stuff matters and it's all fringe. Well, if I become a triple New York Times bestseller, I never wanted to be called a 2-time New York Times bestseller because it sounds like I'm cheating on people, right? But 3-time is great. So it's like that builds credibility.
It certainly does. And, you bring up a good point. The last time I checked, you're not driving a Bentley convertible.
No.
No.
I have one car that's a 2002. I rent a house. I don't have multiple properties. I don't have multiple vehicles. I do have a couple really nice Martin guitars, but that's because I saved my money and I got them.
Right.
So, there's nothing outrageous going on here. Nobody in the fields that you are interviewing who are on your show, none of them are making big profit. That is a myth.
It is.
And it's a myth that is perpetrated by the people who actually have godzillions of dollars.
That's right.
So look back on who is pointing the finger and recognize that you might think that I am nuttier than squirrel shit, but what am I doing? I'm out there with my real name. I'm not hiding behind some stupid internet handle like, Paleo Vegan 101 or whatever, I'm David Wilcock. That's my real name. I have a birth certificate. It's not a pseudonym. I'm not saying that I'm David Stardancer, right?
Right.
I'm out there pointing my finger at these people that you already know are obviously evil. I'm risking my life to do this because I care about humanity and because I want to see this world become a better place. And I know there are spiritual laws where these people, the cabal people, are not allowed to shoot the Red Cross workers. That means that if I stay on the good side, if I actually live by my message, which is like being an Olympic athlete, if I live by my message, then they cannot hurt me. And so what happens is the people around me get compromised. And so I am now in the process of building a team of people who are, and you have to be. If you're gonna get close to me, you got to be 100%. I can't work with less than 100%. It's just not going to happen. Because if you do that, you start to authorize all kinds of stuff against yourself because the work that I'm doing is on the front line. Like I said, I'm not a celebrity. By those terms, I would be Z-list at best. I'd be no better off than in some garbagey reality TV show where they make me eat banana slugs in the jungle.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be the new TV show, David Wilcock, the Z-List. Hey, David, really quick, before I let you go, Truth Seeker just tweeted, she says, please, David, give us a little nugget of your favorite content in the Ascension Mysteries.
Sure. This is an unbelievably intense book. I have never done anything like this before. I am proving myself every step of the way. I show multiple pictures that were dazzling. I mean, I had this guy in the audio control room who had never seen this stuff before. He didn't know anything about this stuff. He was blown away. These artifacts on the moon, these gigantic crystal obelisks on the moon, we have pictures of that. We have pictures of buildings on the moon that are so strikingly artificial, there's just no way you can debunk this stuff. I've got every major insider who's ever given me information, all the juiciest, hottest things that they've said, all organized, all compiled into a single long story narrative. That's the whole second half of the book is like that. It's unbelievable.
I can't wait to read it.
It's like a full disclosure in a book. It's going to make it impossible for the cabal to do a partial disclosure. I draw from so many different insiders, so many different whistleblowers on public record. I give you the links to what they said, where you can read it, where you can watch the video, and I put it all together. And Jimmy, you know me. I mean, like, I'm an excellent chef. I can take all kinds of weird ingredients and make the best damn meal you've ever had in your life.
Right.
And this is what I've done here.
Thank you so much, man. It was another great conversation, and thank you for hanging out and taking phone calls and everything. And
hey, I like it. You know, I mean, nobody really broke my balls. I was a little worried about the Trump stuff, but you know.
Me too.
Look, I mean, he's a buffoon, right? He is a buffoon, but the guy is not in the cabal. Apparently, this is what all the insiders are saying, and if he did get elected, he would start arresting a lot of people. So it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, we're in for a wild ride, however it plays out over the next 4 years, and it's going to be interesting. And now I'll talk to you tomorrow, and I think we might make some plans for later on in the week, and I'll talk to you about that. But until then, be safe and enjoy the rest of your evening, David.
Thanks, buddy, and thanks, everybody, for listening. I really want you out there to know that I do care about you. I'm fighting for you. I want you to be safe, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to have prosperity and all this great technology.
I'll talk to you.
We're working for that.
Thank you so much, David. We went all the way to the end of the show. You're the best. Thank you, David.
All right.
I'll talk to you.
All right, later.
David Wilcock, everybody, went to the bloody end of the show. Thank you so much, David. Always great to have David on the show. And the point that I made before we brought David on tonight is that when we were talking earlier today, I'm telling you, I've just been bumming out. And David just picked me up, and I just couldn't wait to get him on the show tonight. And we just needed that. We need to unplug. With that, I want to thank David. His website is divinecosmos.com. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com and click on his name. It'll take you straight over there. And the Ascension Mysteries and all of the links and where and how to get the book are all there. With that, I must thank David Wilcock, and thank you to everybody that called in tonight. Great calls. Tomorrow night, Corey Good's going to be right here, by the way. And we're going to pick up where this conversation ended tonight. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet.